I'm gonna speak from the veil. I'm hiding behind the veil today, so you have to excuse me. I'll be in the back.
It's the wizard. Don't pull the curtain.
Dude, you look. It's so great. Look, you look like Gollum. You look like fucking. You look like Gollum. I should take the picture.
My precious.
Look at you. You look great. You look great. Yes, you do.
I do look great. Thank you, Vlad.
Improvement. This is the best you've looked in all the podcasts.
You're sitting there like all father, all mother.
Well, I'm not very judgmental. I'm very open-minded about.
No, you're not. So. You're a disingenuous fuck. That's what you are. You know that, right?
Podcast Cosmic.
Welcome to the Podcast Cosmic, everybody. Episode 18. We're back. We've been away for a while. As you can see, one of us is actually out in the ether. By the way, I'm Vlado. Everybody else go around?
Artie, I love everything.
You do. Fucking disingenuous.
George.
Before we start, like, subscribe, and follow us, and hit the notification bell below so you can get all our good PowerQuad goodness as it comes to your YouTube feed. And follow all our hashtags below. Please ignore the person with ADHD up in the upper left-hand corner. Before we start, we do want to make a public service announcement about dyslexia, especially when you're typing on your phones. If you ever get a message that says "If Tau Watska the Vader Hrom Room" at the beginning, the digital set looks terrible. Who wrote that? Who wrote that? Please tell me who wrote that. I think that was Artie, right? Okay. Anyway,
I mean,
this week.
Possibly.
Sorry, we've been away. We've been busy, and obviously there has been a lot of stuff to watch. That's one of the reasons we kind of didn't do a podcast, is we had to get through a number of things, specifically first three episodes
3,522 hours of Stranger Things.
Right. Well, we did Obi-Wan. Right.
Well, also somebody was disappearing for Memorial Day weekend or
that's
whatever.
True. That's true. Yeah. So we id we got to talk about the first three episodes of Obi-Wan and the news that's came out since Obi-Wan's premiered. Obviously, the War and Peace a book that is Stranger Things season 4. We do have to go way back because we didn't get a chance to talk about the Thor trailer that dropped, the last one that dropped, and I think that should cover it. Obviously, if anybody brings up anything, we will discuss it. But why don't we start with the Thor trailer, because it's short and sweet. We could get through it.
I loved it.
That's a surprise.
Hell, surprise! You even loved Gore, the God Butcher.
Yeah, I know he doesn't look right. They really shit the bed on that one.
I'm about to put up a picture of you as Gore. You know that, right?
No, don't do that. But that was great. That listen to me. Marvel in my mind can't do any wrong ever. I'm really super excited about Thor and the prospects. I know I get overly excited for these things, but the preview is great, showing more about the gods, more about Gore and kind of his motivations, more time spent with both Valkyrie and Jane Foster, which was great as the mighty Thor. I just think it's going to be epic. I mean, I love seeing all the gods. I'm wondering if they're going to tie in the other mythos, or that's just the Olympian gods. I know we got some shots of some of the other gods, but I'm wondering, what's going on in those scenes. And then you got to see some of what looks like the final battle with Gore, I think, in it, when they're fighting in like some nether space with, Thor and the mighty Thor.
Valkyrie's there too. And if you notice, she has a lightning bolt of Zeus.
I didn't notice that.
Yeah, because you love everything. You don't pay attention.
I'm too busy in awe, Vlad. I ain't got time for the nuance of these type of things. I just
wait. What? What?
I don't shake my head that much.
We have Artie's shaky cam. Artie's shaky cam.
We're gonna get you a neck brace so that way you just keep it like a NASCAR driver.
No, but I can't imagine, when does the movie drop?
July 6th.
So we're probably going to see some more trailers and some of those mini trailers. No,
This is it in terms of like official
TV
trailers.
spots, probably.
TV spots they'll have, right?
okay. Well, I just
I'm sure
can't
you'll
wait.
find something. I'm
I
sure
think,
you'll share some fan trailer and think it means something.
yeah, you know what's going to happen. It's just like we did with Multiverse of Madness. We're going to get those Reddit, those the Reddit information a week before it drops. I'm going to get super excited, and then all of a sudden, wah wah wah.
Well, to your point, where you're thinking, oh, we're going to get more mythos and stuff like that. I don't know anything, but I'm just saying, based on the track record of what we're seeing with Marvel and how they're sort of keeping things kind of contained within each of their properties, you'll see certain things. I don't know if you're going to see a lot. I would be hard pressed to not believe that the post credit scene is going to be a Wakanda Forever scene. You know what I mean? I think it'll probably be. I mean, the rumor out there is that Namor is the villain in Wakanda. So I don't know if you're going to get.
Oh, once that drops, that's.
I know. Well, you're going to lose your mind. I know.
It's probably going to be the best thing you've ever seen at that particular moment.
There is. I never say that.
There is speculation that Bast, one of the gods, the Panther god from Wakanda, is represented in that sort of tribunal that you see Valkyrie and Mighty Thor sitting at. That's a rumor that
I think it's in one of the photos in Empire magazine. It shows it,
right?
Like
so,
an African,
right? So there could be some tie-ins. I think we have not seen anything about Wakanda yet. I'm curious. I'm really curious to see if they're going to kind of introduce Namor there, or they're going to.
They have to when Thor is released. I would think that's kind of how they do it, right? I think once
it could be, it might be, it could be Wakanda, or it could be Quantumania.
Yeah, and that kind of brings me to like the kind of like something we discussed, when we're talking, is what's Marvel's next big chess move, right? We don't see it yet, right?
No.
Like what's it all leading to? Like we knew it was leading to Thanos for years. Right now,
I think it's Secret Wars, and we don't have to go into, because we have plenty of this thing, and we've talked about this.
Yeah, I don't think it is. I think it's something else. I just think that they're not laying the groundwork for that yet. That's my impression right now.
I'll be totally honest with you. I mean, it took 3 phases to get to Thanos, like really get to Thanos. So don't be surprised if this phase 4 of what we're doing is just a lot of sort of ground table setting, and there's not going to be sort of I think there's nothing going to be definitive at the end of phase 4 that's going to say that's the movie, like an Avenger style movie that gets you to the end of phase 4, that got you to the end of phase 1 that ended up into phase 2. I think it's phase 4 is going to kind of start bleeding into phase 5, and then somewhere. That's just my opinion. I don't think we're going to have the Avengers 5 movie for quite some time.
But even if Thor stands alone, I'll be honest with you, just kind of like Ragnarok kind of did, I'll still enjoy it because I had a ball with Ragnarok. And if it's just a movie where I get something like that again, I'll super enjoy it. That's all I'm really expecting is a lot of fun Thor movie, not really an Avengers movie, and something to really, really, really enjoy.
I'm really surprised that that's your answer.
It's really, I'm really shocked. I was expecting a little bit more kind of, maybe.
I think you've learned your lesson from the madness, the madness that overtook you.
I don't think he's
it did overtake me. I was going nuts. Me and Vlad in like our chat. I was like, "This is going to be the biggest movie of all time."
And what did I say to you? Hold your horses.
I think now you've tempered your expectation.
That's why I don't read the spoilers. I don't read any of those kind of leaks or anything because it's just.
So what? Before we move on to like Stranger Things or
wait, would nobody else mention anything about?
It looks good. I can't wait to see it.
I actually think it was. Go ahead, George, and I'll close it out.
No, I mean it looks like a fun trailer. It's a little bit more story context, which is good, and I think it looks like it's a little bit more balanced in terms of not like the first one. The first teaser leaned heavily into the goofiness. This looks a little bit of goofiness, a little bit of I don't want to say Jojo Rabbit because I'm not sure if it's going to go that dark, but
you'd hope it does.
I think it might. So I'm curious because if anyone could balance that, it's Taika Waititi. As evident as shown in Jojo Rabbit and some of the other stuff he's directed.
Right.
So I'm curious because you can't. I mean, you never know after Ragnarok, but this looks a little like it has the potential to be a bit more serious minded.
I have a question.
Hmm.
Did we see that Thor has a tramp stamp?
Yes.
No, did we?
He-
No, that he had a tattoo.
It's on his back. It's a Loki's helmet, and it says "Rest in peace, Loki."
Right. Then that's
Well,
probably
he's going to be in for a surprise when he sees him again.
well, he probably don't be yeah. So I think for me, it was a much stronger trailer than the first trailer.
Well, teaser.
A teaser, right? Well, this was more of a trailer versus a teaser. This
Right.
gave you more the story beats, right?
Right.
I really thought the juxtaposition between sort of the way that Gore is being presented in terms of the colors, that everything is devoid of light and color versus this black and white sort of starkness, and you see everything else, like you see Olympus one way, you see everything else. I thought that was really powerful. There's definitely shots right out of the comic that are taken, especially the difference is this time he's got what's his name with him. Korg is with him when he sees the god that died, right? To your point about the darkness, it'd be interesting to see if from what it looks like to me, it's like the Olympians are judging him. They're like higher than the Norse gods, and there's like he's on trial about something or something's going on, right? So I'm curious to see if it goes dark and the Olympians all get taken out. That's
what I'm expecting.
Right.
Can't take out the Greek god.
Yeah, no. Wait a second. Let's be perfectly honest. I mean, if you kind of look and if you look at the language, and again, I don't know anything. The fact that King Valkyrie, by the way, has Zeus's thunderbolt. Either he dies or he gives it to her, or something happens. Right? There's something to that extent. Is it a passing of the torch? I hope not. I hope they can coexist. Sort of, you have Thor and mighty Thor coexisting in some way, right? I think there is common knowledge that Jane Foster is battling cancer, so that's sort of taken from the comic as well. And also, there was something else I was going to say. I do think that the Guardians aren't playing as big a role as we think.
I think they're in and out. I think they're in and out. And
there is one thing, and I know this is going to sound not contrarian or like conspiratorial, but when you hear Korg in the beginning of this trailer say to the kids, "Let me tell you the story about Thor, the Thunder God," whatever he says, right? The Viking god or whatever he says, he's talking about him almost as if he's in the past tense. So did something happen to Thor? Is Thor not around by the end of this movie? Is this something that's happening at the end of the movie? So it's kind of interesting. I honestly don't believe that Chris Hemsworth is leaving this franchise in any way, shape, or form. I think this is too much of a meal ticket for him, to have this. I just believe that he's going to stick around.
Taika Waititi says that like Jane Foster is not replacing Thor.
Okay.
So I'm curious. Like for him to say that is an interesting.
Well, because people have felt that. People have felt that about sort of that. Again,
yeah, they feel like it's the same thing with like Iron Man and Captain America and
Hawkeye. There's a female,
right?
A She-Hulk now taking the Hulk's place, right? Whatever, right? I don't want to get into that, but I still think this is going to be. I'm excited about the movie. I think it's going to be a good movie. I do have my reservations as always with Taika. I love Taika, but I hope this movie goes darker than Ragnarok did. You know what I mean?
I think it is just by the visuals that we've seen in some of the scenes. I think it's going to go when Gore shows up and does the Gore things that he does. It's going to take a more serious tone. I think once you
are you going to be taken out of it because of the way you feel about the way that Gore looks?
Look, I'm very disappointed. Again, I think they just could have done a little better job there, making it closer to the comic. That's all. And I won't belabor it.
Like Voldemort
They could have made it work. They could have made it work with the trailing darkness on him rather than the, stitching.
But we don't know if they're going to add that or not.
But
Don't
either
forget.
way, I can deal with it. It's not a big game changer for me. The only thing that would probably, like, again, I think it's going to go there. Once you jettison the Guardians from it, I think it'll start to take a darker tone as Gore starts to do what Gore does, which is kill everything.
Well, I honestly, but again, and I'm going to, let's temper this. My expectations of what ends up happening, it's an hour and 45-minute movie, 2-hour movie. How many different pantheons?
Did they say the running time? I don't think they gave a running time.
I don't know. I don't know how long it is, but regardless of how long it is, I doubt we're going to be seeing
things long. That's for sure.
we're not going to be seeing pantheons and pantheons of gods getting killed.
They'll rush past the setup just like they did in Kenobi, so don't worry about it.
No spoiler alert yet. We'll get there.
Anyway, I'm just kidding. I think they'll make it work. I think they just have to establish that he's done it, why he's done it, like when they do his story, and then as whatever he's going to do to the Olympians. And all I know is, let's not go too hard on the Olympians because Heracles has to show up.
He won't.
What do you mean he won't?
Who says anything about Hercules showing up?
How can you have the Greek gods and not have Hercules in the movie?
You missed the casting call. You were supposed to be there, and they decided.
I'm not. I'm Puck 100%.
No, in the Greek pantheon, you'd be Pan.
I can't even be Dionysus.
No, you don't drink.
First of all, you're hairy enough, and you have hooves on your feet that you can be Pan.
Yeah.
Okay.
Anyway, I think it's going to be a lot of fun. Again,
I like to lean into the Kirby aesthetic though a lot in these two Thor movies. Right. In terms of the art design and the architecture.
Yeah. Anyway,
yeah. Gee, thanks. That's just like, yeah.
We'll see. I will see.
You don't think it has like a Kirby aesthetic?
Yes, the costumes definitely do. It would definitely his costume does. His costume, the other one that nobody talks about is Lady Sif is in the movie.
Yeah.
Lady Sif is returning.
Yeah.
And the rumor is Beta Ray Bill in the movie? Nobody knows. Everybody's kind of, and I'm like, please.
Because there's some weird things going on with some of the shots in the trailer. The way it's like the composition is like everything seems like it's offset or like something was digitally deleted.
Oh, really?
Well, they did that with Spider-Man. They did it. They've been doing it.
Can I ask this?
The overhead
no, you can't.
You can't ask. You see Thor and Korg.
When they're looking up and saying
there's like so much negative space to the left, and people are like assuming that there must be something there because why?
Well, I think he's back on the junk planet, right? And the other thing that they haven't shown again is that what's his name's back? Not the collector. The game master's back. So Jeff Goldblum is in it apparently.
Oh, he's in this.
That's
my question is, I don't know if they said it. Is that Jane Foster from the 616 universe, or is it Jane Foster from?
I think it's Jane Foster. I personally think it's Jane Foster from.
Well, the other thing is this though was Jane blipped because you remember when he's talking.
She was blipped, and that was based on that. If you go back, if you go back to Endgame at the beginning when they're showing everybody who was blipped. Jane Foster's up there as being blipped.
Oh, is she?
Yes. But again, so was Wong. So that's another miscontinuity. If you go back and you watch the scene, there's certain people that are blipped that you're like, wait, Wong's now the Sorcerer Supreme, but he wasn't blipped.
Or did they assume he was blipped because he disappeared?
Who knows? Maybe they'll explain that in another movie. But I think that's something that we'll have to see what happens. Before we jump to anything non-Marvel, let's just remember that we have Miss Marvel starting on Wednesday, so we will be talking about that movie.
I'm excited about that. Looks like.
Are you?
Oh my God, Artie! Really?
I really thought that you were going to approach that with trepidation.
No, never. I think Disney Plus is. Disney Plus.
Disney.
You guys say I love Netflix. Disney Plus really just is such a plethora of like stuff for me to watch.
Didn't you say that about Netflix?
Succotash. It's a plethora of content.
Did you said that about Netflix too, right?
No, Netflix doesn't stop. Like I watch a lot of like shows on Netflix.
Netflix is the Peter North of streamers.
Streamers.
But yeah, I'm looking forward to Ms. Marvel.
Hey-o!
Got to get up early.
North was the original content creator.
Anyway, before we get to the main event, do we turn over to Stranger Things, which is
Yeah, let's go. I mean, Stranger Things is probably going to take up an hour because fucking shit.
Well, I don't think we could, you know, at the end of the day, to me, it was.
At the end of the day, you only watched one episode of.
No, I watched the whole thing. I watched the whole thing, and I
series.
ended up watching it almost twice because my daughter and I sat and watched some of the episodes again. And I think Keith and we talked about this, right? It's different when you're watching it with a younger person who's closer to their age and they're looking at it from a different perspective. You know, constantly my daughter was asking me, where do you put this in terms of the seasons? It's clearly not the strongest season by any stretch of the imagination. And there's certain things that take me out of it. Like there's 4 desperate stories that are just torturous at times. You know, I do care about certain characters a lot. Not the ones that you'd expect me to care about. Like I love Max's story in this. Steve is always a fan favorite. He's one of my favorites. I do like the Metalhead DM a lot, and I know Artie is going to have issues.
I mean,
with
Robert Downey Jr. from
Robert Downey Jr. Robert Downey Jr. Yep,
because he looks exactly like from
he looks
Weird,
like just
Weird
like
Science.
Robert Downey Jr.
Yeah, I see that. That's.
And I obviously, you know, Dustin is always a great character, and I love Robin. The less I talk about 11, I'm just and honestly, it's got nothing to do with the acting. It's they've grown so much that it's taking me out of their ages at this point, you know, and
that throws you off with 11's story because it's like there was a lot of times where it was a younger actress and it was her, and it was just like I wasn't
right, and I also
Well, it didn't matter because she's really in her head.
Well, even that. Even that.
That's the thing. It just throws you off because then I'm like, it's so long and they jump around so much.
Yeah, that's
I'm
true.
like, is this a different timeline? I'm like,
well, that's what I felt, George. I understood the beginning, and I like everything that they did in terms of sort of keeping you in suspense. That did she do something? Did she go rogue and kill all of them? And they leave that till the end. Obviously, you knew there was going to be some, but even the way they bring back Keller, Papa, whatever, Matthew Modine's character, it was sort of like Brenner. Thank you. It was kind of a little anticlimactic for me.
Yeah.
And then you're kind of using because there was an actress that was playing young 11, and then there you have 11 as being 15, 16, however old she's supposed to be.
25,
32.
Right. And when they would jump back and forth between her and her mind and that, I would, like George said, I lost track of that. The Russia story, as much as I love Hopper, was, and I like Murray too, and I like
it just did not pull you into it. It couldn't pull you into it.
He was like in a total other movie. Like
the problem with that is I found that sometimes there were updates because the episodes were 242 minutes each. There were some updates between that story, took too long, and then they were so short until they got towards the end.
At the end of the day, the only story that I was truly invested in was everything happening in Hawkins.
Yeah.
Anything outside of Hawkins,
almost.
I didn't care about California. I'm sorry,
I didn't care about that. I didn't care about the satanic panic bullshit with the basketball players.
with the basketball players, but the stuff in Hawkins, meaning the characters that were left behind,
right?
The main characters. I'm not talking about. The basketball stuff. That's another red herring nonsense bullshit that I don't know where they're going with now. Vecna.
That was always an interesting storyline. That ties to the 11 thing they set up in the beginning.
But the ending, the way they built it up with Nancy at the end, and everything very clever.
How they did it with the flashbacks too, just unraveling that story of the guy in the town. I thought that was very, very interesting.
You streamlined it to that mystery. Right. It would have worked.
Krueger.
I agree.
Well, Freddy Krueger, the Robert Englund
stuff. That was fun.
The Robert Englund scene. And I pointed it out to my wife and daughter. I'm like, watch, because I had seen it and they were watching it for the first time. I'm like, pay attention. And then he starts scraping on his nails. And I'm like, holy shit, they actually kind of made a nod to it, which I loved. And yes, it was Nightmare on Elm Street. It was Hellraiser. It was obviously Carrie. There was all these influences. A lot of nods to it. And it worked. And and even The Ring, as far as I'm concerned, it was very Ring-like to me.
Yeah.
way those kids ended up dying and stuff like that. That was really.
So I really enjoyed it too. I felt the episodes were too long with too many stories, too much. I wouldn't call it padding per se. It was just so long, too much. It's like they had stories to tell, so they weren't.
I'm going to tell you the opposite. I think here's the thing: if Obi-Wan gave a little bit more time and made those episodes a little bit longer and give you a little bit more exposition and stuff like that, maybe it would. I mean, we'll talk about that. I think there was way too much stuff. They could have cut. It was 9 episodes and 7 episodes. That's what it was. The last episode, which look, the strongest episodes are the 4th and the 7th.
Yeah.
The 4th is the one with Max. Kate Bush is running. What is it? Running up the hill. Running up that hill.
That was a great scene, though. That was a great scene.
Guys, show of hands. I thought Max was going to die. I thought.
I thought so too. But that was like I watched that scene over again.
I thought that was the. I thought.
No, the way they were building it, but I had the suspense that, oh my God, is she going to make it, or are they going to really fuck with her?
I didn't. Yeah, for some reason I didn't feel like it.
Yeah, I have to say.
I don't know. I think
I wish they did though. I thought that would have been super powerful if they actually did.
I mean, if
she's actually, and I got to tell you, she had more act. She, as an actress, Sadie Sink was completely the whole season was like hands and above one of the best as I'm concerned.
It's between her, Steve, Robin.
Steve is my favorite.
I love
character.
Steve,
and I do love Steve, and I love Eddie, and I think Eddie's a great addition. I'm worried about Steve because everybody, says, "Oh, he got bit," but you hear him start coughing towards the end of the episode, and we have to wait. Fine, so we have to wait till July 4th weekend to see it. But
overall, I thought it was a strong season. I mean,
really,
after season 1, I think 4 is right.
For me, it's 3. It goes 1, 3, 4, 2. For me.
Oh, for me, I agree with Keith. The problem is you have to. Again,
wait a second. You're putting it. You've complained about its length, and you're still putting it.
Wait, let me tell you why.
I mean, wait a second. That's the crazy thing, because everything you've been posting in Variety has been all negative commentary.
Wait, let me tell you. Can I explain? What I liked about it?
For this,
why I thought it was strong. So number one, I'm not a big fan of season 1. To me, is by far the strongest. 2 and 3 were okay.
I thought 3 was great.
4, the reason why is the story to me, the main story, the parts with Vecna and 11, that whole story. And then, like you were talking, Vlad, about the Hawkins crew as the more adult kids, that their friendship and their growing together and their dynamic is really a lot of fun. And watching them, even when they entered the Upside Down again.
Well, the whole thing, I mean, I got to tell you, even sort of Eddie and Steve bonding over Dustin's admiration for how much he loves Steve. And then like Eddie kind of giving sort of, and it's kind of said, and what I'm hoping is that Eddie makes it to season 5, that he's not sort of the sacrificial lamb at the end of the season. Because
I hope not too.
Because you remember there's that whole scene where, they're setting it up where he's like, I'd be the first to kind of, he's got to have his hero moment, which is like taking one for the team. You see him playing guitar. He's doing the solo up on top. He's in the Upside Down. That's coming up in the next part. So I'm concerned about that. I think there's a fake out with Steve that I really hope Steve doesn't die, because that would be really ridiculous. I will say this though. I'm not crazy about another Nancy and Steve and Jonathan love triangle thing again.
Yeah. I'm not interested in that.
I'm not really, I'm like, I get it. What are you building here for? I mean, I don't understand.
But see, for me, I don't know. I think it's just number 1, and then everything drops. And like I could see 4 maybe better than 2 and 3, but the only reason 4 is better is because the horror element is a lot stronger this season. And if you kind of just erase everything else and just focus on that core group in Hawkins, then you have a really good storyline.
Yeah.
And
you got so much. I mean, you have a real-time flight to fucking Russia. That was like 18 hours.
Yeah, long. It was a real-time flight. That's right.
And it was like, and as much as I love Murray, I do not need to see 3 separate exhibitions of his karate skills. George, the first time was fucking great. I don't need to see it again.
But that's the thing.
George, don't you think it was important for them to tell the Vecna 11 story? That's an
well, the
important story
Vecna,
to
but
tell.
that
Was-
it was in the last episode.
They could have, yeah, but that the thing was like the entire stuff with 11 up until that reveal was
Torturous. I agree.
It was.
I mean, like we had to see her get bullied and this and this. and
Even the
this.
whole thing, you're supposed to believe that Owens has her back. This is what I'm feeling right now. I'm talking about the Paul Reiser's character.
Mhm.
Is it a heel turn when what's his name? I'm Papa
Brenner.
Brenner shows up. Are you trying to tell me that Brenner's always been the good guy? You know, this
I
is
don't
what
think so. I think it's just because of the fact that she calls him Papa and they have that relationship.
No, but his relationship with Owens, because Owens, the whole idea was
Don't
that
forget, Owens was the one that kind of left because he goes, "You're killing her. It's just you need to stop." And he kept saying, "No, she's going to swim and
is that
whatever."
right? But
For
that's
Brenner, it's all utilitarian.
Yeah,
It's all to use her for something.
So now
Yes.
the question becomes: Is Vecna? I mean, I know. Does Vecna stick around for season 5? That's the other thing.
No, the next
because He
season.
works for the Mind Flayer, right? Isn't he under the, or is he the big bad?
We haven't seen
He
the
can't
big
be
bad
the big
again.
bad because the Upside Down existed before. He drops into it. It exists there before. You
escapes
remember
to
when
it.
he drops in?
The only
there's
thing is that
things
11
flying around.
Roll
right?
him
And
into it,
everybody.
'cause that's the thing that's confusing. Like, did she open up the Upside Down room?
No,
during
she
that?
opened up a portal to it, and if you look when he falls in, there's already things existing in there. If you watch it again,
Basically, she's the big. If we're gonna suppose something, she's the beginning and the end of it. She's gonna have to sacrifice herself at the end to
Right.
kind of.
Like she was supposed to in season 1.
She's gonna. That's really what it's gonna come down to. She's gonna. That's the only ending I could see
And
happening,
I'm
which is
curious about the what is it? The school psychologist.
that is she. Yeah, because she
yeah,
has
that was interesting too. I'm trying to figure that out too.
right.
Because
I
she had
wasn't
the block on her necklace, right?
right. Yep. I will say this: the attention to detail that they had in the first 3 seasons, with the accuracy to 80s needle drops, to timing, to when stuff came out, severely suffered in this season. It was not the same. I mean, there were.
I think they
songs-
just use songs just to service the scene as
I
opposed.
agree.
but I mean, for
I
example,
agree.
and George will appreciate this. They played "Come Out and Play" or whatever that. It's off of the first Extreme album. When they're running around trying to get a somebody to replace what's his name, the basketball kid. I just forgot his name. Jesus Christ. They got
I
his
forgot
sister,
his name.
right? So that's a song from 1989, and it's like, why are you putting I hate when they do that because they've been their attention to detail has been really spot on. And that was one of the ones I didn't understand why they put Kisses Detroit Rock City, which is an old.
Yeah, that was
70s,
weird to me too.
right?
But
I mean,
again, I think it was just like what was it when they were talking about when the basketball guy was talking about Eddie and they were playing Psycho Killer. It was just like they're trying to make it obvious with the song choices. They were not subtle
they weren't
at
like
all.
right. And that's it didn't serve the story the way that the Kate Bush song did, which basically made sense. It was her grounding music,
right.
And then when they got it, that made so much sense. I love that, and
I think what George is saying is right. They use a lot of the nostalgia thematically. To me, another thing that again,
I think it's a crutch. It felt more like a crutch in this season than
I agree.
More.
Oh, one thing that bothers me, and it shouldn't bother me because I should be able to suspend belief enough, is that you got to remember these are kids that are doing they get away with so much stuff. They get across country, they bury bodies, they do this, they do that. Like, think about if what would happen in today's world if some kid smashed another kid in the face with a.
Oh my God, the cops would be all over there.
It's an
Well, yeah,
80s.
but
It's an 80s movie.
Get on TikTok.
It's an
I know.
80s movie. These
Lucas.
are 80s
Right.
movies.
You gotta
Lucas.
take it. That's what I mean.
Lucas.
Suspend disbelief.
Lucas.
But I enjoyed it. I'm enjoying the series.
Now, let me ask you a question. From a D&D perspective. Everything that happened during the D&D session, was that I
fun.
thought, I got to tell you, the first episode was dragging up until you got to the basketball game and the D&D session.
I thought
that was so well done.
It was fun.
I thought, and for me, again, going back to my, the Eddie Munson fan club here, he was a dick up to that point. And then when Lucas's sister showed up and she kind of laid in on him and told him everything, and he goes, "Welcome to Hellfire." and then it all changed, and how he was excited for them to play the game the way, they're taking that chance. They're going there. They're going to fucking try to go balls to the wall and try to defeat Vecna, with 12 collective hit points left. It was really exciting. And then when they do it, he gets all excited about it as well. And it's like,
it's epic,
he's invested in it the way that they are. And then
but I think even for us watching it, it's those moments that you remember and take with you
exactly,
as a kid.
the visceral moments that you remember. You're like, yes.
But
And
you
then,
see, that's the thing that they kind of utilize that to get by on goodwill when the show struggles with other things. It's like a lot of people will remember that little moment and then forget about the basketball game and then all this other shit.
But I thought it was showing off how that was just as fun as a basketball game to some people.
it was well, I think it's also showing
It's just
how
as exciting.
that's right, Keith. You're right. I think you're
who's
right.
sounding jaded now?
Yeah.
Huh?
I said, who's sounding jaded
At
now?
least I'm open-minded about things. I don't go like about things.
Well, I also like that they're even kind of doing that, because at that point you still don't know what's going on with Eddie, because you've had the scene with him with Chrissy, which was a little disarming, right?
Yeah,
Because you're like,
disarming. You don't know what it is about him.
what it is about him, but you realize it's nothing. He's just a regular guy. He's a geek.
I don't know. Like, you see, for me, I didn't get that impression from him. I just thought that like that entire thing where he's like kind of like tormenting the basketball players in the cafeteria was just like freaks.
No. I'm talking about the scene in the woods.
Yeah, but
talking about the scene
it still felt like it was just a weird kid trying to,
Yeah, but I think that goes back to Keith's point. If you remember, like the movies we watched as kids in the 80s, we allowed for that type of stuff.
Yeah, and let me ask you guys another question. It brings up a very interesting point. Chrissy obviously was a drug addict already. So did you guys get the feeling that she was meeting there? She had met Eddie before there, or she just by chance?
No, they said they'd already been friends. If you met, they mentioned that they talk about that. They talk about that.
Not the drugs, though.
No, not the drugs. He goes, "You don't remember me?" He goes, back in middle school.
They were friends.
But no. What I am saying is, she went into the woods. She saw the clock. She had a Vecna. She had a Vecna vision. And then Eddie all of a sudden pops up. Was it the expectation that she had already spoken to Eddie and that they were supposed to meet up there so she could do a drug deal?
Yeah.
That's all I'm saying.
Yeah.
Yeah, I believe so.
Okay, got you. That's all I needed to know. And then again, up until the end, you still don't know what's going on. And then for anybody who's seen Nightmare on Elm Street, Eddie's character is the Rod character and Chrissy's Tina.
Yeah.
Rod got sort of, framed by Freddy that he killed Tina, and it wasn't. It was that whole thing again. And he goes on, and I thought that's what was going to happen.
So we get through this. We get Eleven's kind of expanded origin. You get the origin of a big bad, which is Vecna, and you get them into the upside down. Let me ask this: as we go into the next 4 episodes, I think there's 4 more, right? Only two that are going to be 3 hours or 32 hours and 45 minutes.
I think 24 hours.
All right.
But don't forget, they got to fly back from Russia. So that's.
So let me ask, do you expect this to be the end?
There's one more season.
There's going to be 5? So another 5th season?
I think I think they're counting this break as 5.
Nope. One more season.
So they
5.
defeat Vecna and then they have to handle the big bad.
There's one more season.
Okay.
And they're saying that this is every end has a beginning. This season is the beginning of the end.
I think George made a great point a couple of weeks ago when we were talking, or was it last week after the show? I really hope I was hoping they would end it and do like a Stranger Tales and do more stories about people interacting with whatever is going on in the upside down.
So my biggest question is what's his name what's his name? Oh my God, what's his name now?
Fingers are like arrows.
No, not him.
Murray.
Oh God, not Murray. Is Will gay for Mike?
Oh man, they're kind of insinuating it, I think.
I don't know what it is. It could just be friends. We were young once.
But the thing is, it's just like, again, because of 5 million characters in this, he gets just shunted off to the side. So all he has is a shitty bowl cut and doe eyes at Mike the entire time.
Mm-hmm.
What was the other brother? I can't remember his name.
Jonathan. He got shafted. I didn't like what they did with Jonathan. And I get it. They're trying to make a stoner movie.
And he's
Yeah, I didn't like the fact that it was in California. I mean, I didn't care for that. what was the one more thing I was going to say?
But what I don't like about the
Oh,
character,
no.
the thing is, if they're going to talk, they should explicitly make a decision on the sexuality if they're going to do it, and
Well, I think the
not keep it
painting-
as
I
like a
think-
surprise.
I think the painting is, and I mean, there's been articles about it that it's been going on for a while. I think it was in season 3 where like Will was all upset that everybody had girlfriends. He goes, why couldn't things go back to the way they are? There's a whole thing about you haven't called me, all these things. There was the painting, and even what 11 says during the voiceover in the first episode about it's probably a girl. Then you see when she gets up to do her presentation, the girl next to Will puts her foot under the table, and he gets all like kind of squeamy like that. I mean, I think it's going towards that. I'm not saying that,
Or it could be like a fake out, like lots of things seem to be this season.
right. I mean,
I
thought there was just, I mean, they threw everybody in the kitchen sink, all the characters. They brought back Neverending Story, Dusty's girlfriend, and the whole story on that. Which I was like,
we also forgot the other army guy who's looking for 11.
Yeah, that was a pain in the ass.
I mean, you had that other thing too.
Oh, that's what I did want to say. The scene in California when they break into the house, that was a good scene. The way they filmed that,
well,
I mean,
filmed.
That was well filmed. Like, if I shoot,
From
you
an action
run.
movie.
Well, from a POV perspective, I thought it was really well done. It was like, you did not expect that.
Movie that was in.
Right. Like
I do think they did some good jobs with like George said, amping up the horror aspect. You got a little bit of it in every
It's
episode.
more adult. This is R compared to the PG-13.
And you got to see it. So it was kind of a visceral experience. Even though it wasn't necessarily gory, it was
horrific.
It was violent.
It was
pretty, I mean, no, like the eyes getting sucked in and stuff was pretty gory.
Horrific.
The cracking of the stuff was really messed up.
I think they did a good job with that. I think they did a very good job with the story of Vecna's origin with the family and
He was
making
great.
that a mystery that they followed. Like that type of stuff I really enjoyed. And
See, if
I
they
just
introduced
wish
the mystery of the Creoles, like in episode 2 or something, or like, I think I'm waiting for somebody to do a Stranger Things edit where there's just everything gets cut out and they just do
right. Because
the things you love, the things that I loved about the show, why I love season 3 a lot compared to 2. 1 I loved completely because I thought it was such a love letter back to what I loved about 3 was obviously the relationship between 11 and Hopper. And I think the respect that Hopper pays to it in this season, where he says basically, I realized I needed Joyce and I needed Elle. That whole relationship, his sacrifice, everything that happens, the friendships that exist, all of them being together and having all of this stuff and being there and kind of realizing that the developments of the characters, where you do have like an arc for Steve from season 1, where he's sort of you're expecting he's the jock douche, and he ends up becoming this completely amazing. That's the best thing about season 2 is Steve becoming the hero that he becomes. And then and that's one of the best things about season 2 is the bromance that forms between Steve and Dustin. For me, that's powerful shit.
I think that's like probably the only relationship I really give a shit about out of everything right now.
And I do love Steve and Robin. I think Robin and Steve's relationship, the platonic relationship that they have, and that's why I felt the Nancy inclusion, as great as it is to put Nancy with Robin to create that tension. Obviously, Silence of the Lambs is another nod because they do the whole right. And for some reason, I kept on thinking Ace Ventura when Ace Ventura went to the funny farm and he's wearing the tutu when they're running around trying to get away from the guards. But it felt manufactured that she's jealous of quote unquote Robin's relationship with Steve. Again, it's like her and Jonathan were great together, and all of a sudden you're dealing 6 months later, shit's gone downhill. You know what I mean?
It's
and that like you're doing that with Mike and 11. You're going to do it with Jonathan and her as well.
And,
it's like you built that
into that.
Did you guys enjoy the Russia part with the Demogorgon and Hopper at all? Even the end scene, even when you get there?
I did enjoy.
I didn't
that
mind
scene.
it.
I didn't mind it. I will say this: knowing the Duffers, what I was expecting to happen was once Joyce hugged him, I was waiting for the man with no face, the guy from
I love that.
Game of Thrones. Enzo from Game of Thrones, who was the other Russian dude, because the way they filmed that, Joyce is hugging Hopper. You see it from behind Joyce, and you see Hopper, and you see his buddy behind there, and he looks down. I was waiting for the doors to slam open and the Demigorgon to grab the Russian dude, Enzo. That's what I thought was going to happen.
I mean, there's a Demogorgon running around too.
Well, and if you look at the trailer for the next parts, there's more of them in that. There's more of them in that building. I think that's the whole thing you're going to realize is that they're it's the same thing that was happening at the Hawkins lab where they had stuff. So I think it's the same.
I by the time that happened, I was so tired of Russia. I just didn't care. I'll be honest. I was just like,
Russia's the weakest part, but it was also kind of, to me, it was fun. It was like a bad 80s action horror film. And they tried stuff there, and I thought it was a fun. And Hopper had his moments. I like the actor.
Did you not think that he was going to?
All he was depressed for like 19 episodes.
Oh, he's in a Russian prison getting tortured, man. How happy can you be?
That's not his character at all. They just took whatever development he had, and they're just like, now he's going to be depressed for
him out there.
5 episodes.
Wow.
So
they took away whatever charisma he had and just made him.
No, but they showed him how strong. I mean, he's his sense of will. I mean, he obviously he survived that.
You knew that before.
Yeah, but now you know. You too.
I'm looking forward to the last 2 episodes then and see where it goes from there.
Are you really looking forward to them?
Yeah, I want to see it end. I've just, again, my only fear is
can't you just say you're not looking forward to the length of them?
Yeah, the length.
Just everything that's coming out is like, but I'm loving it.
No offense. You know how he is. It's like this is like his.
Like I said, there are aspects of it I'm really invested in. Like I want to see what happens in the Upside Down.
Right.
I want to see what happens with Vecna and 11. Finally, that confrontation.
Do I need to pull up the text from last week before Stranger Things came out, going that I'm not really interested in Stranger Things?
I know. I wasn't, and then even watching them, I was like, oh my god, this is 2 hours.
Did Stranger Things just put in the tip, and you were like, oh, just go all the way? Is that what happened? With
that was 100%. And then the lengths of the episodes were really struggling, but I ended up enjoying it quite a bit.
Did you really? Because there was nothing that you have written that kind of showed that at all.
Why? Because I comment that the episodes are 452 minutes each.
But I loved them.
There was nothing that said that you enjoyed any of the episodes.
There wasn't anything that said he didn't like it either.
Negative. Keith, were you getting all that shit from Variety and Complex that had anything to do with Stranger Things?
No, I did not actually.
You don't see it popping up.
No, it didn't pop up.
Has comments.
He doesn't follow me. My own friend doesn't follow me.
Not on Variety, man.
It's not on Variety. It just shows up in your feed because he's commenting on every
I'm a top fan.
You're top fan. That's right.
So
really? I thought you'd be the bottom fan.
Oh,
where is it?
I'm lazy.
It would be even better if they made. I have it here. It would be even better if they made the episodes 1,357 minutes each.
You did complain about the length of them.
Wait, what was I responding to there?
I don't know. I just took a picture of that.
I think it had anything to do with. Hold on, because now
is that about Stranger Things?
That was 13. Yes.
Of course.
All right.
There were long episodes.
Boys in their subreddits and 8chan and Joe Rogan podcast forums can't help it. They just need to thump a few more times to Sailor Moon cartoon porn before mom gets home and tells them how disappointed she is.
I'm gonna stick with the.
You can just use that one for anything. That was for anything.
Variety. Did Stranger Things 4 sideline characters? With an hour 30 minutes per episode of jumping all over the place with waste, they don't have enough time.
Okay.
What?
Marty, what don't you like?
Here we go. Stranger Things season 4 is all ambition, no fun. It would be even better if they made the episodes 1,356 minutes each.
Send me those screenshots. Send me those screenshots. I'll paste them up while we're talking. While he says I enjoyed it.
I sent them to you. You have them already.
But the thing is we have to be allowed. Listen, no, seriously. You know, I only.
Oh wait, the dark history of Stranger Things 4 is Vecna. Vecna.
That's the other one. Why is he? Whoa.
What's it called?
Why'd you put him in quotes?
Because he's not undead. He's not Vecna.
He's not really
Not
Vecna.
undead.
What does that mean? What the fuck does the fuck?
Vecna's undead.
Vecna's not undead.
Yeah, he's a lich god.
Oh, it's a D&D reference that they're naming him Vecna, but he's not Vecna.
Right.
But they named him Vecna.
Well, put it in quotes then.
Did you put the Demigorgon in quotes too? Because that's what they called him in the first season.
I will if I discuss it. Because you know how I like to use correct grammar.
Oh, man.
Why does it always come back to me?
Because it's always about you.
I love this stuff.
Leave a trail.
You are the
I love this
wellspring.
stuff.
You're the wellspring of disingenuous
But
stupidity.
I love this stuff, so I like to comment and be critical of it on social media.
But then when you get on here, you're like, I love everything.
No, I don't love everything.
You fucking turn into Buddha. It's like everywhere when you're on there, it's like you're Jekyll. And
Did I love Dredd? Do I love The Boys?
You haven't watched The Boys.
I have watched all of season 1. I tried season 2 and I just said I can't do this anymore.
What happened? Did your subscription to Amazon Prime run out?
No, I'm watching, what do you call it? Paramount, Evil.
I'd rather watch something that's more entertaining to my brain.
This is true.
Are we done with Stranger Things?
Based on the Laura comic book, you enjoyed that one, didn't you?
Yeah, I'm waiting. I'm looking forward to the ending of it.
Of which one?
Well,
Of
the
which
ending.
one? Of what? Of Boys or
No,
or-
of the Stranger Things.
Why do you
So
keep
am I.
talking about The Boys? Let's not talk about The Boys on the podcast anymore.
Why?
Why?
Because you'd hate comics if you did.
Only a Sith
Boys
deals in
hates comics.
absolutes.
Anybody who likes The Boys hates comics.
Only a Sith deals in absolutes. Okay.
More like
There's always two, Vlad.
this spelled
That's always true.
mispronounced shit, Vlad.
It's myth. Only a myth deals in absolutes.
Myth.
Anyway, before we go, let's just rank the seasons for everybody. Go around quickly. Rank your seasons. Artie, you can start.
1,
They're
4,
all
2,
num-
3. 1, 4, 2, 3.
You put 2 above 3, huh? Okay. George?
1, 4, 2, and 3.
Keith?
1, 4, 3, 2.
Wow. Okay. I do 1, 3, 4, 2. So, and now for the shit part of this podcast.
Oh man,
This is gonna be a battle. Okay, we're gonna talk about Obi-Wan.
It's not going to be a battle. It's going to be fine.
No, it's gonna be no. I mean, this is a hard thing to talk about. I mean, it's Star Wars is near and dear to all of our hearts. And I'm not saying we're not slag. I'm not slagging.
wait, what
it.
was the name of it? I thought it was called Young Leia.
Oh God. Oh.
I like it better when you don't talk.
All right.
Oh, that was
Keith-
a good one, Keith. Keith, I
Keith,
got you back on that
and
one.
that one, Keith,
Of
start.
course, Keith has to follow you on Facebook to see all your commentary and Variety and Complex and Business Insider. So
Hey, at least on our Facebook page, I give some reviews of the episodes.
Look at him sitting back.
Pray I don't alter it any further.
Okay, let's start.
at
Keith.
least I give reviews to episodes on our Facebook.
First of all, Alec Guinness Obi-Wan is a more badass, stronger Obi-Wan than Ewan McGregor's Obi-Wan in this.
Okay. Okay. Fair
How
enough.
how did he lose his Force powers? He's been practicing the Force since he was about a child, and now he can't use Force anymore because he.
Pete, I think it's no. It's,
And yet, when he's
PTSD.
Obi-Wan in New Hope, what does he do? He scares away a whole bunch of Sand Raiders, chops off a dude's arm, mind screws a bunch of stormtroopers.
Stormtroopers.
Hey, come on, please. This is it's
How
ridiculous.
many years is a New Hope after Obi-Wan?
Oh, it must be 10 years at least, right?
No. This is 10
8
years.
years.
This is 10 years after Sith. This is 9 years before New Hope.
Let's just say I don't buy it.
A lot of hack can happen in 9 years.
Okay.
Not when you have a guy who's been studying this stuff, since he's a child. He was a general. He's a warrior. It's like saying, oh, a SEAL team guy who's been doing the SEALs for 30 years, takes off, retires 10 years. He's still not a good SEAL.
Emotion's not one of your strong suits, is it, Keith? I mean, the guy lost his best friend, his entire everything around him went to shit.
Well,
I
I
understand
understand
valid
criticism.
Hold on.
Connection doesn't
And then
matter to
at the end of the Phantom Menace series, whatever, he's like, I'm here to protect Luke. How are you going to protect Luke if you can't even
Agreed. I don't disagree with that.
So it's just to me, there's so many things that I just found the story dull. First of all, I blame Disney for it, because it's like, did they really need to tell this story?
Well,
I don't think they did.
Welcome to
You could say that about George Lucas in the prequels. Did he really need to tell that story?
No, I don't think he did either.
I think that one there was more pretext to it. There was a lot of stuff laid groundwork.
He did need to tell it, because he started off with story 4.
Well, he was planning ultimately that was supposed to be the story, and he said, "Look, I got to start from here." So he started from 4, and then ultimately he went back to.
He did not have a story. Let's get that myth out of the way. All he had was episode 4. And then, somehow they create this mythos that he had an idea of what was going to happen prior. No, he didn't. He had no fucking clue.
But at the end of the day, he was able to tell the story. I mean, look.
Yeah, but he was able to tell one story that was saved by a bunch of people who were telling him this doesn't work.
George, wait a second. Here's the thing. If you go back and I've done this, if you go back and you pull up the novelization of Star Wars that was written by George Lucas, the first page of the story is all about the fall of the Republic. Right. And the rise of the Emperor. So there was a story. There was maybe an outline there of what could have been, but it was still but it was an outline of something that could have been told. There was definitely not a story for the sequels, but there was, and then there's so much referenced. Let me finish. There was so much referenced in the 3 movies in 4, 5, and 6 that would want you to see what happened. Would want you to see. I don't have this anyway. I don't want to take away from what Keith's saying, but what I'm saying is I see more credence in wanting to tell the prequel stories than telling this 19 years between 3 and 4.
I'll go one even further than that. I think if you take New Hope to Jedi, it goes from being the story about the Republic and the Empire. I mean, sorry, the rebels and the Empire, to being about Luke and Vader. And that's the story. That's really the story of Star Wars. And that's why the prequels matter quite a bit, because he went back and he told Anakin's story and how Anakin is important to all of that.
Well, Anakin becomes, don't start with Palpatine. But Anakin, if you take the first 6 films, it's really about the fall and redemption of Anakin Skywalker.
Yeah, that's what I was getting at.
But the problem is that is it's like this false mythos that's created behind the creation of Star Wars.
Right. He didn't write 9 novels. We get it.
It wasn't. It's like he didn't have any idea that Vader was going to be the dad until Empire Strikes Back.
Darth Vader, Dark Father.
It doesn't matter. You could throw names together and it happens.
Guys, we're not focusing on Kenobi. Let's go back to Kenobi.
I think, Keith, I really appreciate that take on it, because I hadn't thought about that at all. I think that's a really interesting kind of take on just saying.
Can I ask you a question?
Hey, look at what the character is.
Can you sit up straight? Because you're sitting like you're behind your desk and you're giving us a review.
I want to bring some gravitas, and
you look like you're on the toilet and you have your feet propped up on the
it's more like an armchair. Like
he's got a squatty potty. He's sitting on a squatty potty.
As I wax philosophical about Kenobi here.
Here's the thing. Then we can't take away the fact that Luke cut himself off from the Force. In Last Jedi.
Don't get me started about that. Well, did those stories need to be told either? No.
None of these stories could be told. We could just say none of the Star Wars movies could be told.
Yeah.
All right, let's forget the sequels, forget the prequels. Okay.
You guys,
let's talk about Kenobi. Let's talk about Kenobi.
The problem is, though, you can't talk about Obi-Wan without talking about the prequels and the sequels, because
the sequels.
That's the problem with the show.
No, but part of the problem is because people are talking about the prequels and the sequels and the original trilogy. Everything that's going on in this show is like, well, how does this fit into this? And why does this fit into this? How does this fit? Everything with this show, people are throwing the canon of Star Wars prequels and sequels and everything else.
I'm not talking about the sequel. That's all that matters. Canon matters.
The thing is, it shouldn't matter though, because
Why not?
Canon of Star Wars is all over the fucking map, whether it's George Lucas or George Lucas and friends. There's not one consistent type of canon throughout any of the movies. So you can't hold this show to any kind of standards of canon when the movies.
I'm not, but I'm not. Yeah, I know.
Everybody.
Here's the thing. Let's leave the sequels out of it because the fact that the sequels are playing any sort of.
We'll forget the sequels, but we'll talk about.
But let's talk the prequels, and obviously look. The prequels themselves, look, the preamble to this show was basically a 3-minute synopsis of the prequels.
Mm-hmm. That's exactly
so, yes, and that's perfectly great. And you're building right into that, and that makes perfect sense. So fans and people who grew up with the prequels, kids, obviously are getting to see a continuation of Obi-Wan, which is
the show.
My problems, well, I don't want to talk about my problems with it. I want Keith to finish and then everybody else to talk. But Keith, what else?
I mean, look. At the end of the day, am I going to watch it? Yes, I'm going to watch it because I still love Star Wars. I like to see where they're going to go with it. I just felt that the story was weak. The production was kind of not as great as I thought it would be. There's some nice looking scenes in it, very pretty, but also a lot of just weird like service story, like just to serve the story like beats. I mean. The last thing that comes to my mind, I think, was just like the whole ride where they get picked up in the truck with the guy. Yeah, that whole sequence was just, there was some nice parts to it where he has a little talk with Leia and everything. But
all great scenes.
It was very cute. I know. I mean, again, Ewan McGregor, I'm going to put pros on it. Ewan McGregor was a lot of fun. But little girl Leia, she's cute. She works. She's okay. I don't have a problem.
I know you don't agree, Artie, but I mean, yeah.
Whatever. She may fit now, but Reva, I have no problem with the person who she is. I just have a problem with her character. I find it's very infantile and very poorly written. I don't think any actress could have made that character work the way they wrote it.
I disagree.
That's fine, but I don't think that would be the case. Just the whole like, and then. All right, so Leia saves Obi-Wan. Then he gets saved by that one woman with the story. First of all, like he takes out a squad of stormtroopers at that thing.
And a probe droid.
And a probe droid. But then all of a sudden, 3 guys come out from a thing and he can shoot basically shoot one bolt into 3 of them and kill them all.
They're stormtroopers.
But he goes like this and he puts his gun down and they don't tell him drop the. Just so ridiculous. And then because all they need to do is serve the story of having that woman save him, which is fine. I like that actress actually. She's very cute. But things like that, like those story elements happen more frequently for me than they should. It just kind of, it takes me out of the character. I mean, I get it. We're seeing sad Obi-Wan. Oh, I'm sorry. Oh, poor Obi-Wan. I feel bad. But that's not to me who he was or what he is. It's like, yeah, he had a rough time. But he has a mission for himself. And I just don't see it. I don't see the way that they're portraying him. It seems very weak. The thing that cracked me up, I thought I was watching The Princess Bride. When Vader lights his saber and you see him with his saber out and then he fucking runs. Oh, come on. I mean, I get it. You don't want to fight him, whatever. Just a lot of little bits that are just kind of like that whole scene with Vader coming in. I thought, oh, this was a good, point. Oh, you don't want to do fan service. You don't want to use the Imperial March. It's not appropriate for that scene, whatever. Vader looks cool. He's walking down the street, killing people, snapping necks. Yeah, that's cool. But it felt flat. It was like, I felt no sense of dread. I mean, for the people, of course, they were like, oh shit, he's going to kill everybody. But it just felt weak. The whole scene felt weak to me. I mean, that's fine. I mean, it's going to be better. Yeah. I don't know. I just overall disappointing to me. I'm not impressed with it so far.
George?
But I'm hopeful. I'm going
to let the negativity flow first.
No, we're going to balance it out.
No, I want to let the negative ones go first.
No, but I think what I find very interesting about what Keith said is Keith is talking about the character of Obi-Wan to some degree in what Obi-Wan has always been portrayed as. Like if you look at the prequels to me, right, you're not getting a weak Obi-Wan ever. You're getting a battle-hardened, through Clone Wars, through all these things, this battle-hardened.
No, it's all. But in Phantom Menace, there's sort of the passing of the torch of him stepping up, having
100%. But and I see what he's saying. I have a different view. I'm enjoying the series.
First of all, he kills Darth Maul in the first one.
Right.
He kills Grievous in the second one. And then he defeats Anakin in the third one.
Right.
This is not a weak fucking guy.
No, he defeated.
He's been kick-ass of all Jedis.
No, let's rephrase that. He defeats Maul. Maul didn't die. We thought he died. He defeats Grievous in 3, and he defeats Obi-Wan because he had the high ground. I mean, Anakin in 3. So he did that, right? In 2, he got his ass kicked by Dooku. Him and Anakin got their ass kicked by Dooku. But yeah. Anyway.
But for me, I'm enjoying the show, but I had to divorce a lot of the stuff. You and I talked about this too. And it's hard. How do you do it? How do you divorce yourself from the lore and just take the ride? So to me, I just decided to ride the roller coaster on this one. And the first episode, to me, I loved it. I really enjoyed it.
It's the strongest episode of the 3.
Where Keith kind of said it looks kind of like a poor production. When I saw the first episode, I was like, this looks like a really nice production. It looks like a more lived in Tatooine than we got from Book of Boba Fett to me. People actually doing stuff and living there. I really like the stuff with Owen. That stuff was great. I like the initial shock of the Inquisitors kind of showing up. I thought that was really good. I loved seeing the Organas. That was a really interesting
Jimmy
kind of
Smits
dynamic to me.
I did enjoy Jimmy.
It was nice to see that too.
I like the girl who plays Leia. I do have a problem though with, I don't know what it is.
You don't like kids. You don't like kids.
I don't like watching kids do roles. It never sticks for me. There's always something missing in the acting. And I feel like the adults are going, why do I have to act with these children? Right. So then the second episode, the pace picks up. He's got to go find Leia. And bring them back to the Organas. And that felt a little weaker as an episode to me. It tried to make Reva cooler by making her like Spider-Man or something. And that's not
parkour.
It was, and everybody knows how I hate parkour. And to Keith's point, you have bounty hunters on rooftops just missing shots and standing shooting in one direction with no cover. And then you have that big revelation after at the end of it. And then you have the third episode, where the third episode starts to let me down. And again, I enjoyed it, but it leaves me down a little bit, is that I really did not enjoy the Vader scenes as much as I thought I would.
Right, you said I
wanted to see a cool kick-ass Vader. They could have made him more kick-ass. Like even when he's in the throne room talking to Reva, right? And I'll talk about Reva in a second. I'm looking at the scene and I'm like, wow, this looks badly digital. Why is he leaning like I do when I talk into the hologram?
Vader's constipated.
Right. And then you had that scene in the beginning with the armor being put on him. And that looked really, really low budget. Like I'm watching it, I'm going, man, Disney, you should have put some more money into this part.
Considering that Netflix put $30 million per episode or some nonsense.
Specific into this episode. And then.
No, I'm talking about Netflix for Stranger Things.
Yeah, and you could see it.
Well, yeah, but Stranger Things is like 2 hours long.
yeah, but Disney, but this is Obi-Wan. This is probably their highest property.
So let me just finish kind of this. And then, you get the whole dynamics with the Inquisitors, which I like, but I do think it is a little forced. But I understand why. 6 episodes, you have to do a lot of truncating the story to get it to where you need it to be. And that's where I feel Vader is forced into the 3rd episode to get to an initial confrontation before they have a penultimate confrontation and whatever's going to happen with Reva, because that's going to be important in the very end as well. And then you get Vader landing because they discover where Obi-Wan is. And that's where I go, man, you could have made this so cool. He lands with maybe 5 stormtroopers, Vader, and 3 Inquisitors. Maybe there's 1,000 of them, but whatever. And he does a march to where Obi-Wan is through the town. And, indiscriminately just chokes people because, that's what Vader does. And he eventually finds Obi-Wan. He splits from Leia to get Leia out of there. And it's a weird type of confrontation. I expected more dialogue, more interesting dialogue. And then they have a battle, a fight. I expected to go one way. It's Vader. It's Vader to me, and he's hostile and everything. And to me, Obi-Wan is in a lot of doubt. But you get a feeling for how powerful Vader is very quickly. And all of a sudden, he doesn't use that power. Like, remember, he holds what's-his-face up in that scene. And he drops him because of the fire, I guess, and whatever. And the fire deters him from getting the vengeance that he has. And I'm not of the school of thought that he needs to follow Obi-Wan to more Jedi.
That's not bad. I think he's toying with him.
That's not Vader's motivation. This is the whole arc of Star Wars is the personal interactions between these characters. And all that matters is Vader and Obi-Wan and Luke and Leia. And he is not aware of Luke and Leia. He is not aware of Luke and Leia. He is vengeance upon Obi-Wan. That's all that matters because he blames Obi-Wan. And he needs to get vengeance on Obi-Wan. He never would have let Obi-Wan go.
No, I agree with George. He's torturing him.
He's torturing.
He's playing with him.
I mean, what he did was
what torture was that?
He lets him go thinking
Wait a second. He lets him go. Why would he let him go, though?
Because it's a cat and mouse game to him, and he sees that Obi-Wan's broken because the whole fight is a one-sided ass kicking. That's why Obi-Wan's running away, because he can't. Vader's smacking at him with one arm, and Obi-Wan's using both hands to try and protect himself. All it is a cat and mouse game to him. Anything that Anakin Skywalker has been in this prequel trilogy.
Oh, he would let him escape and rest, as opposed to have continuous torture.
Everybody forgets that he right before the fire, she shoots. What's her name? Shoots the fire thing, and
right.
He tells the stormtroopers, "Go get him." It wasn't like he's like, "Oh, just leave him alone. Let's walk away." It was, "Go get him."
Right. And then
and when the fire goes, what? Yeah, whatever. And the robot just literally walks in like a Tim.
Right behind the fire.
Tim Conway in like the Oldest Man sketch.
Hey, let me do how fast.
He's not going to bother.
And they're still shooting.
This is
they're
his whole
shooting.
purpose.
I'm sorry. Anyway, go on. Go on.
I'm enjoying it. Like I said, I'm out. I want
What? Are you enjoying it?
Because I love the location.
Come on now. Be honest.
I said it. I love seeing the Organas. I love seeing that scene. I love to see the expanse of the universe. I love the locations. I love seeing.
Why do you like the locations when you say it looks low budget?
I love the locations. I love seeing new droids. So the things I like the dynamic between the Inquisitors. I like
you do. I think what
you said they were horrible,
dude. I'm going to rewind this. Rewind the whole thing.
Let me just finish.
No, because you're contradicting everything you said.
Okay.
Either on Facebook or earlier.
No, I really am enjoying it. Again, I'm not looking at it from a place of lore and continuity from the first movies.
So if you were looking at it from a place of lore and continuity, what would you say?
I wouldn't watch it. I wouldn't watch it. To me, it makes no sense. There's no need for it. It's just, like we said before, it's just elaborate fan fiction. Anybody could have made this and put this up on their YouTube channel.
Okay. Okay, George,
For what it is.
why don't you counter give your counterpoints?
It's too much, and in the end, very anticlimactic, and in parts gross.
You did say gross.
Which, when you compare to Luke's appearance in the penultimate episode of Mando season 2, is really just lazy.
That's right. That's what I'm talking about. The Darth Vader appearance.
You said gross though, and then now it's like.
No, that's from my review. If you read my review, I said I liked it. I said I enjoyed it
episode.
and recommended people.
Negative. I don't know. You know, like, again, I'm not going to adhere to Star Wars canon from the OT because the canon in those 3 movies are all over. Yes, they're all over the map. You know, you could go with Star
are internally consistent to me.
Huh? No, they're not. They're inconsistent.
Where?
You can. Well, in New Hope, he goes, you know, something like, when we first met, you know, I was but a learner, now I am the master. All right. Then when Luke says, "There's good in you, Father," he goes, "Obi-Wan thought you, you know, as you once did." Well, when did Obi-Wan ever think that? Because
And he was young.
not in Revenge of the Sith, because there was nothing there that he tried to, turn him to the good side. So there's no internal consistency with, you could say, oh, well, Leia, what do you remember about your mother? She was very sad and this and that. But the mom died within 5 seconds of giving birth to them. So there is no internal consistent timeline within the Star Wars movies.
So are you trying to say that because of that, they can take whatever artistic license and hook into any particular line and say, well, this is what it actually means?
They can interpret it any way, because if George Lucas can't even be bothered to give a shit about what he wrote in the other three, in his 3 movies,
and they're doing a better job,
huh?
And they're doing a better job than the creator.
Nobody's doing a better job. I think Disney, outside of Mandalorian and the Clone Wars cartoon, Disney's not doing a very good job with the Star Wars property.
So, okay. So back to Kenobi then.
But I find Obi-Wan enjoyable for the story it's trying to tell. It's a broken man who is cutting himself from the Force to prevent himself from getting caught by the Inquisitors, who are still hunting Jedi, which is what he's telling the other Jedi guy not to do. Don't get involved. Don't do this. Don't do that. And they're kind of showing how detached he is from the justice of the Jedi, when the guy is getting shortchanged at the job and he doesn't even say a fucking thing. So in terms of what they're trying to, they're inconsistent with their story. Are there some faults with it? Sure. I don't like Reva. I think with a better actress who knows subtlety, she could get away with it. This actress is kind of like acting like she was in Queen's Gambit, where she's kind of overacting and chewing scenery. And outside of the Grand Inquisitor, the other Inquisitors are not much better.
But I think that's the service, the quick 6 episodes.
I don't think it has anything to do with it. I just think it comes down to acting. She is just like, in your face, I'm going to act like I'm evil. And it's just, when you see how kind of mannered the story is, that kind of cartoonishness from the Inquisitors really sticks out.
But isn't it cartoonish because the only time they gave her character time to breathe and grow was in a prologue they gave 5 minutes before the first
I don't think it has
episode?
anything to do with that, though.
It hasn't been confirmed yet, but
hasn't been I mean, you could say it's her, but the thing is, it's how you deliver the lines, and she's not doing it good, and that's probably the director's job to tell her to rein it in. But she's just like, you're gonna tell me where he is, Owen, or your family's gonna die. I mean, it's just like she's basically spitting out her lines as opposed to like some sort of menace. And it's just basically like, I'm evil, I'm angry, and this.
But then no other actress could do it then, if those are just the lines, right? To Keith's point.
Because if you're spitting out the lines like that, it's how you deliver it. Somebody else could be maybe more of a quiet menace, but she's not doing a good job. And she's taking me out of...
To me, that's the writing, George.
I think
he only has a sentence every scene. Like every scene is literally a sentence.
A lot with a little.
Vader talked to me. I spoke to Vader.
You see how when it's cartoonish like that, you're just like,
well, it's also,
me. It's the actress, and I'm not saying anything because of, I'm not like racist Star Wars fan. I just think that she's not a good actress for this part. But then again, outside of the Grand Inquisitor, none of them are good for their parts.
They look pretty cool, though.
Huh?
They look pretty cool.
No, they don't.
I like the design.
The design, and unfortunately, the fifth brother, he's taken straight from the Rebels comic. I mean, the Rebels show, and he looks ridiculous on screen. The way he looks, I don't
know. I just think I just don't think they did a good job with the brother and sister Inquisitors.
What did you think of the Grand Inquisitor? Kind of like,
I preferred his character because, again, he was
a little nuanced.
There was more nuance to him. Like there was a quiet menace to him, and that stood out with the cartoonishness of the other 3. Because you can't say that the third brother is any better, because he's basically spitting out everything.
I hate that. I don't understand why they're
That's the
forcing
thing.
him to
It's
do that.
like, and if they all acted the way the Grand Inquisitor did, I think it would be and it's like line delivery and the actors.
But I feel like Grand Inquisitor, and tell me if I'm wrong, guys, in the first and even in the second episode, he seemed to have more lines too.
Not really.
Yes, because he has a whole conversation with the barkeep, a whole conversation.
It's just a monologue. But again, but the way he's delivering his lines is kind of, it's like a low
Reserved.
quality version of Hans Landa in Inglourious Bastards. I just think it's an interesting character study about a broken man who's, basically trying to like safely go, just keep an eye on a kid.
But he's really not doing that. He's really out there adventuring, and nobody's minding.
Well, I understand the impetus for how he gets, and we'll talk. And
I think the impetus is a little
contrived.
I think, because he was just basically bullied into it.
Well, not only was he bullied into it, if you think about it, at the end of the day, it comes back to the whole process. It's the machinations of not the Inquisitors, but of Riva. Because Riva figures out that it's Riva who hired Flea. The less I talk about Flea, to take Organa out, because she figured out that
that's again,
she knew he was friends with Bale. So it's just symptomatic that it's the Organas, right?
I think. Well, I mean, they are. I just think that, and I think it's because it was her. It kind of makes her feel like she's the dark side Rey Palpatine. Like able to do everything correct. She makes the right call with everything, and they just kind of overdo it.
Again, I think that's the service a story, and that's where the character is problematic. And I agree with you that the character is problematic, not the actor.
I think like some story elements with her is problematic. Like if it was, let's say, third brother that thought of that, that's fine.
Well, like they didn't show, like when fifth brother says in this last episode, he goes, Vader's been informed. Would have been a nice to see, like, sort of the competition that the fifth brother goes to Vader.
I think it would have been better if there was like some kind of more equality in terms of who was coming out with things, just to show that there was some kind of.
Well, I think they're trying to keep. I think, and again, I'm putting it. I'm not putting it on the acting as much as I'm putting it on the writing. It's again. I think that they're trying. Are they trying to? Obviously they're trying to make Riva annoying, not just to the audience. I think that's part of it, that you're supposed to feel this sort of, because obviously if there's going to be a turn, because obviously if she's a Jedi, there's going to be some sort of, why did she fall? Why did, what happened? And is she going to be redeemed? And if she's redeemed, how do we see that in how are we going to see that? But I think there's also the annoyance factor of the other Inquisitors. The other Inquisitors are annoyed by her as well because of things that she does. And there's obviously even the Grand Inquisitor,
doesn't care about protocol.
Doesn't care about protocol. The Grand Inquisitor keeps on pushing her down, saying like, you forget that you're garbage or whatever, which again, if you're reading between the lines, I'm not talking about the color of the person's skin. I'm talking about, she was a youngling that they brought on, and you were a Jedi scum that now is trying to overachieve as an Inquisitor. Mm-hmm. But I think maybe what they're trying to say is there's more to it than that, because I think there's that whole, I don't know if it's hatred or she's conflicted. If she is conflicted, she's not coming
conflicted.
Out.
She's on a vengeance mission too.
That's the thing, though. If she's conflicted, a better actress would have shown that. She just comes across as super angry.
She's not yet. She's not conflicted yet.
It just doesn't feel.
She is super
like there's angry. That scene where she's in the hideout and she sees the symbol, and there's no kind of sign of recognition or anything.
She
like, you can tell, like the way she touches it, it's supposed to have meant something, but it just felt like I'm just told to put my hand here.
Vlad, what were your thoughts on the episode?
And something, I'll be honest with you, the Vader scene did not bother me. I kind of liked what they were trying to do, because it wasn't this grand show of Vader. It was him basically trying to get Obi-Wan out of his hiding spot.
Grand show. He was
trying to draw Obi-Wan out by torturing and again, Vader was choking people left and right in the original trilogy.
Social distancing.
Kind of, huh?
Social distancing.
That was a
Well,
great
yeah.
meme.
So, yeah, but he did keep 6 feet away from himself. Even when he was dragging that woman behind him, she was at least 6 feet.
You know, he was following the COVID protocols.
I mean, you know, I'm happy for that. I mean, he kept his distance from everybody.
Yeah.
Did he need a whole army of stormtroopers to get fucking Obi-Wan?
But he's always had stormtroopers. Think about the snowtroopers. Let's think about the Xenon. Think about the Tantive 4 at the beginning of episode 4. Think about the invasion of the
But that's because they're going into a rebel ship. So he's expecting there to be, you know, some kind of.
But there's also garrisons there too. Don't forget, there's garrisons on the planet. Remember, there's the establishing. Yeah.
But the thing is, he's not going to need it for just Obi-Wan. That's all he's there for.
Especially if he's just going to let him get away, and he's there for fun.
If the fire wasn't there, and after he burnt them, he would have taken him. But he's toying with him. What was Anakin Skywalker in Attack of the Clones and Revenge of the Sith? He was a drama queen, right? Wouldn't this be like a drama queen?
Yeah.
He's more of a Anakin Skywalker from the 2 movies from the prequels than Darth Vader in A New Hope and Empire. He's following that characterization of this petulant, whiny child from those 2 movies more than he is A New Hope. This movie is more a new prequel trilogy sequel than
that's clearly because he's supposed to be at the height of his powers as Vader, right, and he's still young and impetuous, not younger and impetuous in the sense of like he's still like full on Sith, really at the height of his powers. You know, he hasn't gotten to be sort of this.
I mean, he's dragging him through the fire so that way he could feel like what he felt.
Right. Yeah. And it's all built on sort of, it's emotion. There's a lot of emotion and anger. And pain. I get that. For me, I don't want to start unless George, you had other things that you wanted to say. I know you had.
I'll wait. I'll rebut.
Go ahead. No, go ahead. Finish.
No, I don't have anything. I mean, like, again, I have some issues. I think longer running time would have maybe helped pad it out a little bit. I think there's been scene to scene consistencies. I don't think there's been anything that's kind of off-putting to me. I really don't.
I'm good. I will rebut that.
I'm sure you will.
I like the scene with the clone trooper, like begging. But that was and again, this is a disconnect for me as it is for younger people, because a lot of people are like, oh, it's the 501. It's like all these kids who grew up with Clone Wars and the prequels, and now seeing that, they feel that. I didn't. It's not the same feeling that I would have. Why are you getting angry? I mean, I get that.
Because he doesn't watch Clone Wars. The animation style bothers him in Clone Wars.
I mean, I thought that was a nice cameo. That was, and everybody
my issues with the show have been like, I think it needs more story elements. It needed to be padded out a little bit longer, and I think some either character choices and actor choices is where it suffers. And don't let the little girl run anymore. I mean,
yeah. Well, I thought that they went.
That was hilarious.
Of the three,
that was Vespa chase,
right.
And Reva would have caught them if she had only had parkoured up to the ship.
Well, I think they're also. If you're looking at that scene and you're kind of paying attention to what she's doing, it's a heavy-handed way of sort of showing you, oh, look, she had Jedi training, because it's the same thing that Luke was doing on Dagobah, the same spins and all these things, and it's all the stuff that you're like, oh yeah, okay. So they're trying to show you in a very sort of like, they have the hint at the beginning of the first episode with which I thought was a good scene. The Order 66 scene at the beginning was well done. Was a good opening. I like that it kind of ties into that, and then it just goes from there. And then her parkour scene, whatever. But the things that worked, okay, first off, the first episode for the most part was the strongest episode of the 3 for me so far, because I do like the fact that you're seeing Obi-Wan broken. But here's my inconsistencies. Obi-Wan is such a broken man who's broken off from the Force, who's so, to Keith's point about he's lost all hope. He's not able to reach Qui-Gon. He's kind of completely a hermit. You know, he's kind of buried everything. I think he meant it when he said it to the other Jedi. Just go bury your lightsaber in the thing, whatever. But he's there when he has the scene with Owen. He's like, the boy needs to be trained. All of a sudden, wait, even if Owen was going to be like, yeah, I'll let him train, you're completely devoid of the Force right now. You got no skills, man. How are you going to train this kid?
Because I think that's him basically just following his.
Again, he's gone.
Back it up or not is an entirely different thing.
But he's going from somebody who's completely broken, but he's got to be trained. I get it. It's almost, but it's not. It's like what I did like was you're kind of seeing sort of, and there was a juxtaposition between Leia and Luke where, Luke is already like searching for the stars. He's already kind of like running away from his responsibilities. The same thing as Leia. So you kind of get that sort of sense. I did like Jimmy Smits' character. I really like Jimmy Smits' character. I did like the Organas in general. I like the relationship between Jimmy Smits and young Leia. I'll tell you, the whole Flea thing was stunt casting. If anybody wants to talk about acting, that kind of completely threw me out of it. In such a way that
he's a Star Wars fan, so I'm all right with that. It wasn't as bad as it in Game of Thrones.
But I still don't. I didn't like it, and it's just like you're doing all this thing. I get it.
If they let me be in an episode, I'd happily be on.
Look, Joel Edgerton was great. I have already said what we've talked about. My problem is the Inquisitors in general, and as good as the first episode looks, to me, it's still. I'm sorry, everybody. My thing is, if this is supposed to be an epic story, it doesn't feel epic enough. It's obviously scaled down, and I'm trying to divorce myself from the fact that it's not going to be on the big screen and it's something that's being told on the small screen. But at times, as expansive as it looks, it feels small. And we'll go when we get to episode 3. I'll explain that a little bit more. Obviously, I was emotionally moved by Bale's plea to him when he shows up on Tatooine. That to me was actually, and again, the strongest scenes in the series have been the one-on-one scenes. Ewan McGregor's killing it. There's no question he's killing it. Everything around it, I'm not that crazy about. Like him and Owen, him and Joel Edgerton is great. Him and Jimmy Smits was great. Even him and young Leia. Every time in the second jump, before I get to this second episode, at the end of the first episode, and this is a crime to me, I'm expecting they focus in on his lightsaber. He's polished it up. It's on his hilt. I mean, he's wearing it on his belt, so it's there. So my expectation, when he first ignites his lightsaber in this show, it's going to be a fucking epic moment. It's going to be, think about when he lit his lightsaber in the cantina for the first time and he lights it. And it's like, it's a flash and it's done. I understand what they were trying to do in episode 3 with Vader, that he was completely dumbstruck and scared and completely like shit in the bed. But it felt like he was using it as a fucking flashlight. It was no sense. But again, it just felt, anyway, you focus on this.
Why is everyone assuming that? I'm sorry to interrupt, but why is everyone assuming that it's going to be this epic story?
Because it is an epic story. It's supposed to be a fucking epic story. Yes. Epic story. No. Then don't do the story.
It's a personal.
No. It is a fucking epic story.
It is. I agree. It is personal, George, but the interactions between these major characters
epic. Because epic and no, that's not the problem. Because if you're gonna, I'm sorry,
this is expecting an epic story.
Yes, you are. Because if you're sitting there, turning around saying, you know what, we're going to insert a key interaction between these two characters that occurred within those 19 years, considering their moment. That is a quote unquote personal moment on the Death Star is an epic moment because it's supposed to be the first time they've seen each other face to face in 19 years. and he sacrifices himself for the greater good. No, we're going to bring in something else. Then it should be fucking heavy as shit. And it's not only heavy as shit. Oh, you know what we're going to do? We're going to turn this into Rocky 3. Rocky's not going to be ready. Clubber's going to beat him up, and he's going to come back. He's going to go to Jeddah or wherever the fuck, Jabin or wherever he's going to go. He's going to realize that there's all these other Jedis out there. He's going to get hope. He's going to come back. Qui-Gon's going to kick him in the ass, wake him up, and he's going to go and beat Vader. And then we're back to square one. You're diluting the importance of them meeting. If you're going to do it, then make it fucking great. Sorry, that's my rant about it. Now let's go on to episode 2. Let me finish. I let everybody talk. Let me finish about this. Episode 2 is not, to me, it felt smaller, even though it was taking place on this planet, right? This whatever, like it's supposed to be like Hong Kong. It's a huge port planet. When he finally gets Leia, it's perfectly fine. Look, again, you want to break canon? Here's my thing about it. General Kenobi, you served my father in the Clone Wars. Now he begs you to help him again, or whatever she says. Oh, but by the way, yeah, you and I hung out pretty extensively 9 years ago. There's none of that. You're breaking canon there. Fine. You're going to break it. It's like, explain it. I hope they explain it somehow. That's my other thing. The chasing of Leia through the thing was kind of, I didn't care for that. I didn't care for Kamal's character.
That's because we hate children running around.
No, I just thought it went on too long. It went on too long. It went on too long. It just went on too long. And I get it. You're expecting him to be, I enjoyed the aspects of him sort of really not wanting to give into the Force and sort of use the gun, use all of these things and do all of this stuff. And then sort of seeing him sort of struggle his way through it. And then, and then when he uses the Force to save Leia, that's an important moment, right? Yes, it is. The whole discussion about that she reminds him of somebody, I thought was tremendous. And I'm not, and again, I don't hold the prequels at the same level I hold the OT, but I just felt that those were there. Then we get to the end with Reva. There's the obviously I don't believe that the Grand Inquisitor is dead. Okay. That would be the biggest breaking of canon, because it's like, okay, that's more closer to what's happened in the last few years than the original trilogy. Are you going to break that as well?
It's the multiverse.
But then that she knows that Anakin is Vader. Not many people know that Anakin is Vader.
Right.
So there's that other sort of dangling thread out there. It's like, okay, Reva, how do you know that? How? So again, from a story perspective, are they trying to make Reva a very important character that has a key to something, that knows things that other people don't know?
That, or maybe Anakin captures her.
Or whatever, right? We don't know that, right? And I'll be totally honest with you. I don't expect a very extensive explanation for it, the way that these episodes have been set up.
They are making her a key character.
Or so we're theorizing.
The star of the series alongside Obi-Wan and Leia so far.
Correct. Right. She is.
But she's got a lot about the most screen time.
Well, they're building towards something, right? So let's leave that at that. Then we get to the third episode, and they land in Texas because it looks like fucking Texas.
Everybody's got guns.
Okay. And then
they're gay.
That, to me, you went from what happened in that other episode, which was interesting, and I understand where they were going with it. I didn't care much for them walking and them having the discussions. That's fine. Everybody talked about the truck. The thing about the truck is I'm expecting him to pull the Jedi mind trick on the stormtroopers.
Well, you're missing the part beforehand where he sees Anakin, right?
Well, I'm sorry. You thank you for reminding me. There is that big moment at the end. Yeah, we didn't even go about that. The Jason Lives moment at the end of 2, where Anakin wakes up, right, in the Dacta pit.
That part bothered me.
It bothered. Why did it bother you?
Why?
Because of that same reason. I know of an impending Vader. We thought about it. I just think they could have done a different way of looking at it. I mean, again, it doesn't take me out of it. When I saw it, I'm like,
force power.
this isn't this isn't like a horror show. It isn't like that. It leads into that whole scene I was talking about in the beginning of the third episode, where I didn't like the way they did the armor going on him. It just felt cheap, lazy, and could have been, to me, filmed better, I think.
Yeah.
Again, it's just a simple pet peeve of mine.
I get it that, he has visions now and he sees Anakin, so he's haunted by that. And then there's the whole discussion with Leia on the thing, which is fine. We went through the whole issue of the inconsistency of the stormtrooper battle. Fine. So there's all that. Then we get to Vader.
I love that he goes to the gate, which obviously you can just walk around it. And he goes to shoot it, and it's like, oh, so he's going to grab the truck to go through. That's what. No, then he shoots it, and then he walks through, and it's like leaving the truck behind. What the fuck was the point of that?
Yeah, it just felt like
Star Wars.
I will say this: it felt, those parts to me felt a little low budget. I mean, that whole thing, it's like, it doesn't feel like it was
because they didn't have walls to wall.
Well, not only walls, but at least in the second episode, you felt it was a more lived-in city. It was sort of, there was stuff going on there. And this one, you felt like,
as opposed to a mining colony, which is supposed to be very.
And you saw Reva had to go through metal detectors too.
Yeah. So then we get to Vader, and the whole thing in there was interesting. Even the character, Indira, is it Indira Varmas? I forgot what her name is in the show.
I think she's excellent.
I thought she was great. I liked the idea that she's a lapsed Imperial who realizes I kind of like that whole thing. I like
that too.
I do like that they're doing the Underground Railroad for the Jedi, and they kind of name drop Quinlan Voss, and they do all of these things, which is deep cut, deep EU stuff that they do, which is great, all onto itself. And then Friday the 13th, Jason Lives happens. It's like Michael Myers walks in, or Vader or Jason walks in, and it's just, don't get me wrong. Again, and George, you can flail me about this. It's like, I have my issue with Disney's interpretation of Vader. I've always had it. Because I felt like they're trying to make the coolest ass Vader and scariest Vader possible at the sake of the story. In my opinion, I think I've told you about how I feel about the end of Rogue One. This is supposed to be the same type of Vader at the end of Rogue One. It is here. I understand that he's going for Obi-Wan. He wants Obi-Wan. He wants Obi-Wan. He wants Obi-Wan. There could have been more establishing sort of dreams, because there's that one part in the first episode where he's having the nightmares about Obi-Wan, about Anakin. And I get it. He doesn't know about Vader, and he doesn't know about all these things. Now I'm wondering if Vader becomes sort of his dream. Vader's going to be in his dreams from now on, because he knows what Anakin looks like. And then at the end of it, yes, there's the whole thing. He walks around, does it. I'm taken out of it. Going back to the epic thing, I just feel like it's supposed to be a Star Wars story about Obi-Wan Kenobi, who is one of the key characters in the saga. And there's no John Williams music other than the Obi-Wan theme at the beginning of the thing. Anything that's connective tissue to the rest of the thing. Everybody forgets Duel of the Fates was used as the goddamn trailer music for this thing. And there's nothing there. And this music sounds like it's music of the week, whatever it is. There's nothing. And then the battle happens, or not the battle, the ass kicking happens. And it basically happens on a back lot at a fucking sand, like with sand around it in the dark. And it feels like, okay, it didn't feel epic. I mean, you're supposed to, these characters are meeting for the first time again. And like you said, like it was a Princess Bride, he runs away. I understand why he did it. I'm not even going into the Reva figuring out where Leia was. Okay, fine. She figured out there's a thing going here. She went around the other way and found her at the end. That's fine. And the Vader thing you guys have all talked about it. Again, my problem is you're telling a story at the expense of the original story. And if you should take care to make it to bolster that story. They're
not even done yet, Vlad. We haven't even got to Luke yet.
It's not even that. Look, I think everyone needs to throw away this notion of them bolstering the original trilogy story. Nothing they're ever going to do is going to bolster that. If George Lucas couldn't even be bothered to bolster the story with his prequels, Disney's not going to look. Say what you want, but
I
whatever
can't agree with you. I can't agree with you there, George. I'm sorry.
You're not going to agree with me, but whatever he did in the prequels doesn't service the original trilogy with all the nonsense that he had going on. If he can't be bothered to have care for some of these characters and his story ideas and the canon and timeline, you can't expect.
Yeah,
Disney
but George, but Disney's doing worse on it.
But then we're saying nobody should have any care for the source material at all. We should give up on it and let it go.
Care for the source material. There was no internal consistency through the original trilogy. There was no consistency through the prequel trilogy.
But again, look, there's certain beats that are being taken that are not about that are not servicing the story, but they're there for spectacle.
I think
yes, absolutely. They're there for spectacle.
It's not epic. You can't complain that it's
not epic. It's not.
That means that they're servicing the story and not for spectacle. They're servicing
they're servicing the spectacle.
There is no spectacle though. That fight scene was not a spectacle. It was
for a lot of people it is. They love the fact that Vader is the scariest Vader they've ever seen.
But that's the thing. People who have grown up on the prequel trilogy and not the original trilogy. You're looking at it through a different lens where the original trilogy is elevated on this pedestal.
And I shouldn't look at it
that
way.
It is elevated on this pedestal.
It is.
But you can't, if you...
None of this would exist without
the original trilogy.
Yeah, but the thing is, there was still no consistency through that original trilogy. If you look at it,
the original trilogy itself, it works. Okay, he calls him Darth. That's a mistake. Okay, he called him Darth when he should have called him Vader, right? He calls him Darth because at that point we didn't know there was all these Darths, right?
The rules of two and this and that.
That doesn't exist at that point. The Luke and Leia brother and sister thing, fine. The scene where she kisses Luke in Empire, fine. That was awkward. But other than that, if you look at the three movies right there, where's the inconsistency in those three movies?
Obi-Wan believed as you did.
Right, because at that point, I'm not talking about the prequels. I'm talking about if you take that trilogy.
But the thing is, when you hear that line, Obi-Wan believed as you did, that means that there was some point where they kind of met when he was Vader and tried to turn him.
Didn't he try to?
Well, we don't know that. It's open-ended enough.
Well, what about the end rant that it had? Like when he was yelling, like he was crying basically when he was looking down at him, saying,
"You were my brother, Anakin. You were the chosen one. You were my brother,
Anakin." Now we're going to the prequel.
No, but I'm just saying that was bringing into that. That's where the idea of that's who he was to him.
The problem is that
during that entire fight, did he try to turn him to the good side?
There's nothing wrong with liking the series.
It's not about that though. It's about the fact that this series is for the people who watch the prequel trilogy. And if you're going to try and go, well, the original trilogy had this, and this is what they said. If you kind of look at it from not a super fan eye, but you kind of look at it story-wise and stuff, it's all over the map in terms of where he was trying to figure out where the story was going. And you could see that through the movies.
But even if you do that, George, to Vlad's point, you're dealing with the most important characters in a storyline. And if you're going to have them interact with each other and have pivotal moments in the timeline or in the storyline, they should effectively be every appearance the most important. This isn't like a 22 episode.
It's not, but is it is it an important scene? Him actually face to face with Anakin as Darth Vader.
It's unnecessary. I'm sorry. At the end of the day, it's unnecessary because
it's unnecessary.
It's unnecessary. It's unnecessary.
And so
I'm sorry.
Trilogy.
No, the prequel. No, the prequel. No, you need to see. No.
Wait. Let me.
This is inserting more stuff that's not needed.
But so was the prequel trilogy. If you want to
no, because you got to see how Anakin fell.
Did you really need to see that?
He just started at episode 4, so you kind of had to see season 1, 2, and 3.
I'm sorry, you did. Yeah.
No, you didn't.
But you did.
No, you're right. You didn't, George. I could have lived with 4 through 6.
Right. Yep.
I don't need anything else.
Exactly.
Yeah,
I
agree with that.
clearly don't need. But I clearly
But
don't.
we don't
need
have that. We have 1, 2, and 3, which is not consistent with 4, 5,
Do
and
one
6.
how is 1, 2, and 3 not consistent? They end it on a note where
Leia,
if you watch
what
4,
what do you remember about your mother, your real mother? She was very beautiful and she was sad.
She's force
How did she-
sensitive.
maybe she was
How does she
force
remember her?
sensitive.
She
She's
died.
force sensitive.
She's force sensitive.
Give me a fucking break. She wasn't force
What?
sensitive.
You asked how?
So,
She's force
I'm-
sensitive.
She wasn't
So
sensitive.
I'm going to go back to this.
Can I ask you? And here's the thing, George. If
Vader's
this
2 feet from her and he doesn't feel any force sensitivity to that his fucking
if
daughter.
this episode, if this
Hey, there's a dude on this desert.
She messed it.
His name is
if this,
Skywalker.
right, yeah, if this,
Oh, shit,
okay,
that's my fucking name.
can I ask you a question? If we end up back on Tatooine, in this show, and Reva figures out something, and she's there, and she's confronting the Owens again because it's obviously being built up, the Larses again, because it's being built up at the beginning of the first episode, right? That she threatens Owen, and if she ends up back there and she's threatening Owen and Beru and Luke with a lightsaber, is that breaking canon?
Probably.
100%.
Because if Luke is sitting there and sees a lightsaber for the first time he sees a lightsaber is not in Ben's shack.
We're going to get it, Vlad. It's an inevitability that Luke and Leia are going to meet. There's going to be an inevitability that
I don't think Luke and Leia are going to
I
meet.
think we're going to get the most disgusting.
And now,
break.
right. And here's the
So
thing.
basically, you're enjoying it for what it is. But
No, I am. Listen, I'm on the ride, George. It's like a roller coaster. I could go to a theme park and say, oh man, this element sucks, but enjoy the roller coaster. I'm just thinking that there's going to break elements like they are already. Like what Vlad is saying, they're taking liberties. And George, I'm okay with it, but I would ask you this, George, what would they have to do?
Say my name 5 more times.
What would they have to do for you to say they have broke canon?
Like if Luke and Leia, I mean, like what? How do we know that Luke's never seen a lightsaber before, though?
Because he says,
What is this? It's your father's lightsaber. Your uncle wanted you to have this when you were old enough, but your father wanted you to have this, but you weren't old enough.
But maybe
your uncle wouldn't allow
Ben
it.
is going to do a Jedi mind trick on them all since he gets his powers back.
He's going to do that to Leia. He's going to mind
Presence I've not felt since the past 2 times that I hung out with Obi-Wan and I fought him in the last 10 years. Right.
Did he finish the sentence? A presence
Again, and everybody's like, ooh, let's grab onto that. It's
Well-
sort of this phenomenon right now that we're seeing that even
But the
happened.
thing
And I was
is-
telling this to Artie. Look, it's people are taking liberties. It's like you don't cherish the original, and I understand. And
But
it's the
then-
same thing that Disney did the same thing. Let the past die.
Anything about the prequels? George couldn't fucking cherish his originals.
Look, I'm the one who turned on George. I'm the one who turned on
with the
George.
special editions.
Not
I'm
you.
the shot first.
Well, I know. That's
I
where
like
George
that
lost
Keith
me.
had the best take out of all of us on this with his simple mention of the beginning of how the portrayal of a battle-hardened general, Jedi all his life. We've seen this before. Paladins who lose their way, but they still kick ass when it's time to fight.
No, we don't.
Somebody's
never
always saving him. Think about it. Somebody's always saved him in every episode.
So look,
If it's not Kamal, it's
Keith, I
Leia.
loved your take. That was a
Right.
phenomenal take.
You're right. You're absolutely right.
Not though, because it's the classic Joseph Campbell hero's journey where he loses his way, he's weak, and then he gets his ass kicked and he comes back.
It's
We've
Rocky
seen it
3.
every
It's
fucking-
Rocky fucking 3.
It's Conan when Conan gets nailed to the fucking cross. He can't use his fucking hands.
It's not that.
It's not
Yes,
that.
it is.
George, it's not.
I wish it was that
It's a
good.
stupid trope that they use in every fucking thing.
George, it's still,
You're
it's,
gonna go-
you're taking
No.
iconic scenes. You're taking iconic scenes.
Let
It's
go
like,
of
I'm
that.
sorry.
Let
I'm
go
not,
of that.
no, because
If
then
this
it's,
were the case, George, by the time he gets to protecting Luke at some point, he's not going to be able to pick up a lightsaber. He's going to be so distraught and broken.
Right, because you know something.
it's sort of,
nobody
you know what
can
this is?
say.
This is fucking Marvel Comics doing Star Wars, like the Star Wars.
No, it's not.
Just, yes,
No,
it
it's
is.
not.
It's
Yeah,
fucking, it is.
100% that.
Luke, it's
Bullshit.
Luke meeting
It was
Vader.
Marvel Comics
It's
doing
Luke
this.
meeting Vader on in issue 37. In issue 37, before Luke first, it's Luke meeting Vader before he actually should meet Vader for the first time on Empire. in Cloud City. It's the same.
But I'm
You're
loving
taking-
the series so far.
You're fucking disingenuous. That's your superpower. And I'm not saying there's elements that are really good. It could have been done so much better. And the writing is not the writing is not good.
The writing isn't good.
They're going to test Luke for midichlorians in the 5th episode.
Would that break it for you, George? I'm sorry, but it's like, again, you knew guys, I was going to talk about the canon stuff.
George Lucas already fucked up his original trilogy.
But it's so beloved. And here's the problem. Because of George, not
No, it's
you,
not
George.
because of George.
Because of George. The love of this is because of George.
Kirshner, Gary Kurtz.
It's George.
No,
George
it's
is the
not.
wellspring from this. You're going to blame George. Wait, you're going to blame George Lucas, and you're going to put him in the same. You're going to put him in the same category as
He got saved from every bad decision he's made by people who told him no.
That was Gary Kurtz in Empire, and that was the only one, right?
No, it was Marsha Lucas with Star Wars. Her editing saved that fucking movie.
That's true.
And Obi-Wan was going to make it out of there, by the way, in his
Yes, he was. Yes,
in
he
his
was.
grand ploy, and she's the one that said he needs to die there.
Yes.
He's been saved from very bad fucking decisions.
So you're not going to give him any credit? You're not giving him any credit?
That and just say we got the movies we got, and that's what we remember.
No, we got the movies we got, and we're having this argument now because of the love of those movies, and we got all this other stuff out there. The fandom.
Ask the question though: can you buy those movies that you fell in love with?
I have them.
That's not what he asked, though, Vlad.
No, you can't buy. You were able to buy them once on DVD as a special edition.
That's not what he's asking. He's saying there's a reason why they don't exist today.
Has Disney not? Disney has the rights to them. Why haven't they released them?
Because he told them that part of the deal was they're not allowed to release the unedited versions.
You mean the special editions? Look, he's gone and tinkered. He's done and this and that, and got rid of the Ewok song and done all of these things that piss me off.
I'm wondering what people watching this podcast think of our
that we belong on a racist incel 8chan.
I do think we're going to see more, and I'm going to use the term, and because I don't know another term, and I don't want to set Vlad and George off on this. I do think they're going to have other canon breaking moments with
it. It depends on what it is, though. I mean, if it's Luke meeting Vader or Reva or whatever like that, that's going to fuck it up for me. If it's Luke and Leia meeting again, that's going to fuck it up for me. If it's anything involved.
Oh, look what Keith has. The
originals.
You could sell those for $450 each on eBay.
Those are the originals, yeah.
VHS though.
Yeah, and I still have, and I have them on. I still have the laser discs, the original trilogy laser discs.
I have
it. Doesn't matter. I mean, it doesn't matter.
I have it on Blu-ray.
Well, yeah, I have the Blu-rays.
It
doesn't matter. I mean, I get it.
Fett figure.
Of course you did. You got the Technicolor nonsense. No, you got
the Boba
figure.
Fett sneakers for $9,000.
Anyway, look, we're gonna go through this for another 3 weeks. We're gonna argue till we're blue in the face.
But the thing is, again,
you're enjoying it.
Huh?
You're enjoying it. That's good.
I just enjoy it because look, George Lucas fucked up his movies already. So at this point, as long as it's not anything that.
No, I'm not arguing that part up, George. I'm arguing the point that it's just not well written. It's not a very good series.
The thing to me. It's not well written. Obi-Wan, his acting is really. I think Ewan McGregor is doing a fine job.
He's doing great.
All right.
He's doing great. And you buy the fact that he's a broken man that lost touch with the Force and he doesn't know what the fuck he's doing anymore, and he's in a confused space. Stop your head.
Well, that's going to serve protecting Luke real well.
This is not before then. All right.
I'm joking. All right. I'm going to say my piece on one other item. I want to talk about Reva for a second.
But you're enjoying it.
The whole racism shit that's been popping
ridiculous.
up on the interwebs and the trolls. And I think, again, if you want to have, like we're having here, which I think is legitimate discussions on whether you think the writing is good or the characterization is good or the acting is good, let's do one thing. But let's not attack the actors.
Agreed.
It's ridiculous.
Bullshit. It's really disgusting. And it's really a part of fandom within Star Wars where it's completely toxic.
But what percentage of it, though? I think we're just giving these people a platform.
No, I agree, but it's hateful. It's hateful stuff that needs to go away. And The problem is they try to hide
It's never
behind
going to
the
go away, though. Not just for Star Wars, for a lot of stuff. But I mean,
Mainly
comic
Star
books.
Wars that these fucking creeps come out of the woodwork.
Well, it's just weird to see it that the actors, they all have to come out and say something. The company has to say something to protect the act, to defend the actors.
or they have to erase their pictures from the
You know what I
posters.
mean? No, but I think that you have people from other parts of fandom. The guy from Star Trek came out and said X, Y, and Z. It's just disgusting.
What
it's like-
what happened in
One
Star
of the
Trek?
guys, the guy from Strange New Worlds, the Captain Pike.
Like
It's a Black
Anson Mount?
Bolt.
Black
Yeah,
Bolt.
he wrote something nice. It's just terrible that they have to go through this. Just
But again, I said it earlier, and I'm going to say it again. I'm 1,000,000% behind you. But any criticism of the acting, there's a certain sect of people that are defending this, and they're obviously against the racists that see that if you're trying to make an objective, critical, observation, that
but we
you're
were just
completely
critical, Vlad. I don't think anybody would ever say that.
Don't
if we
be
say, hey,
surprised.
look,
No, wait a second. I'm going to be totally honest with you. You have 4 white guys right here, 4 middle-aged white guys who are saying this, and it could be considered as, you have to be very cognizant of that fact.
Yeah.
You do. I mean, I'm sorry, you do. And regardless of what is in our personal lives and, what we have, and, I know I don't have to come out and say it because that's not who I am, but you have to measure your words, because somebody's going to look at it and say, because you feel that way, the same way that George and I have our disagreements about it. If somebody has a disagreement about, let's say, a person's acting ability or the writing ability or the character themselves, it has nothing to do with the person's color of their skin, right? But somebody else is going to misconstrue it, saying that if you don't agree with that,
But
then
the
you're
thing
racist.
But you know what the thing is? You can't control what other people are going to react to.
Right. And all I'm saying is that, again, I'm bringing it all back to the writing. And I'm not just talking about Reva. I'm not talking about Moses Ingram at all. I'm talking about the writing of the show in general. It has not been strong. It has not
yeah,
been
I just
strong.
wanted to talk of the fact that I can't believe this stuff goes on in 2020.
Well, it's been going on because
It went on before. Where was
It's
this
been
for
going
Jake
on.
Lloyd, for Ahmad Best,
for Kelly Marie Tran, it was there for John
We got
Boyega.
dragged.
Yes,
Yeah.
they got
You
dragged
know.
because of it. Absolutely.
And it's ridiculous.
Ridiculous.
I mean,
No, I just wanted to say that piece. It's like I can't believe that stuff went on, and
you
for me,
can't,
it's
Artie,
disgusting.
you can't believe. And I'm
Yeah.
sorry to say it. Just wait. You want to talk about toxic environment? I hate to say it. Wait till you see what the shit's gonna hit with Miss Marvel now. That's the next
yeah.
one. I'm sorry, but we have to be
Yeah.
prepared for that.
I hope that poor girl, and I heard they went after Leia too. The girl who plays Leia a little bit.
Well, it's not just about people of color. It's about women. It's about all these things.
About women and people of color.
Absolutely. And I think it's horrible. But
Stupid.
So just that piece. That was enough of that.
this is a very
I'm-
special, somber episode.
They didn't do a preview
Podcast.
yet for the next episode, though, right? We don't know what's going to happen. Like what's next.
For what? For
What's going to happen is Luke and Leia are going to meet, and then they're going to fall in love.
I wouldn't be
An
surprised.
angel.
So next
look-
week we got a big week too. So we got Miss Marvel and dropping on the same time. So we got to get up at 4 instead of 5 to watch the episode.
Did you see? You didn't see the preview of Obi-Wan episode 4?
Did they have one up?
Yeah, they have. It's Luke talking with Owen, and he goes, "Why don't you like it here?" And he goes, "I hate the sand; it gets everywhere."
Nice guy.
Is there anything we have to look forward to in the next week besides these shows?
The flames that we're going to get from the two fans who watched the podcast. How many followers we're going to lose because of this?
Oh, I think we had a good cast today. We talked. I'm really surprised, Keith, not that you had that observation, but it was a great observation.
No, it wasn't. It was a.
I
bad
thought it was excellent. I
observation.
thought it was an interesting kind of take on it. I hadn't thought of that.
It's a fucking tired trope, but it's.
I'm so focused on Vader and those characters. I'm not really focused on Obi-Wan.
I got to be honest with you. My thing was Vader.
I hadn't focused on Obi-Wan at all.
Well, because it's called Obi-Wan Kenobi. The
Yeah,
show's
it's
called.
Oh, I
Obi-Wan
know,
Kenobi.
but that tells you something. Like he was saying, it's the Leia show, right?
How is God? You guys.
Obi-Wan is a supporting role in his own.
I wouldn't be surprised
Sure.
though, Adam Dickstein, if you're watching this, your favorite character was the mole guy
That was Zach Braff from Scrubs, by the way.
That was?
Everybody thought it was Seth Rogen.
I 100% that's or one of the droids, the cargo droid.
Did everybody forget that?
The Eternal was in it.
Yeah,
Who?
did you see R2 and 3PO are in it too?
Oh,
On
that's right.
Alderaan. They're in a cameo. There's a cameo of R2 and 3PO. R2 3PO is translating to two.
I thought I
different
saw him.
series,
Right.
and R2's in one of the back scenes.
I got to look at that.
Thank you, New Rock Stars, for that.
I'm surprised that they didn't have fronted forward, and if it was George Lucas, it would have been like Leia would have been like, I created them.
What about the Eternal? The guy who played the fake Jedi?
Yeah.
I didn't like him. I didn't like that whole character.
I'm not surprised.
Will we see him again, you think?
Yeah,
Yes.
I have a feeling. we will see him again.
He's really a Jedi.
He's not really a Jedi. I think he's a Jedi sympathizer.
Mhm.
I think he's a Jedi sympathizer. I don't think he's a.
He's
real
a Jedi who cut himself from the Force.
Everybody cut
He's
himself.
going to come back, and it's going to be like this grand battle. It's going to be like 25 Jedi.
Yeah, and the last thing that we're not talking about, and George,
right in front of
Here comes Vlad with his
your evaporators with Luke watching.
hey, George, we were just talking about what could this show possibly do to break you, like not like it. How about a season 2?
Oh yeah, that to me. What the fuck are we? That to me was a very.
Are they saying a season 2 of it?
I can't believe that. Like
Nobody
I saw
said
that
there was a
too.
season 2.
No,
It's guys, it's out there. It's already
Yeah.
out there.
All right, I'm going to
It's
look
out
for
there.
it.
No, it is.
They're
It
already.
is.
It's
I'm completely look like idiots will watch it, but what the hell, man? Just tell the story and move on. I saw the preview for Andor.
Yeah.
Again,
that at least okay, maybe whatever. I mean,
again, it's something we're not looking. I never asked for, but I'm willing to watch it. I like to watch Imperials in white. I think that's pretty cool in and of itself.
is that your kink?
That's my kink, baby. You saw what I wrote about
Of the Stormtroopers, yeah.
I love seeing the Stormtroopers. The design on the Stormtroopers is great, and the little scenes with the Stormtrooper on the pickup truck was pretty funny to me and cool. I love Stormtroopers. I've always loved, like, even when I used to have the action figures when I was a kid.
When you were kids,
I was a kid.
because you had
I
multiple
loved
personalities. Your
loved,
disingenuous one and your asshole one.
Oh yeah.
What?
I always wanted
I just love the design, the look of the
He meant
Stormtroopers.
kids when he was younger and right now, because he's still a kid.
The clone troopers didn't look nearly as cool.
They look the same as they always did.
I think we had a very good session, a very cathartic.
Yeah,
session.
I'm glad we were under an hour this time.
No, we
Fuck
weren't.
you. It's almost 2 hours. We have to edit this fucker.
So let's talk about The Boys season 3.
Oh yeah.
Let's watch Star Trek Strange New Worlds and the Orville, which you should.
I watched the first episode of The Orville. It was pretty good.
It was
Oh,
pretty
it
damn
wasn't.
good.
It was boring.
You didn't like it?
No, I'm not a fan.
Okay.
I already saw Galaxy Quest like 20 years ago.
I think it's more STTNG than Galaxy Quest.
At least
I think as this, have you watched all the seasons, Keith?
Yeah.
I think the show went from not knowing what it wanted to be in terms of using like broad comedy and science fiction to I think they've really kind of downplayed the comedy over the last.
Yeah.
Especially through the midway through the second season.
I mean, Seth MacFarlane still kind of takes me out because he's just Seth MacFarlane. So it's like, but
I like
the
Seth-
cast. The cast,
Yeah,
I think, is
like
really
Seth
good.
MacFarlane. And none of you guys are watching Star Trek Strange New Worlds?
I don't have
Yeah.
Paramount.
It's the best Star Trek. And
You're not watching Vlad on Evil?
Thanks to who? Thanks to who are you watching Evil?
No, I'm glad you put me at. Look, normally you tell me to watch something. I totally say, yeah, and I never watch it.
I watched the first episode of Tokyo Vice. It is very good.
It's
Yep.
fun. Keith, when you get to the
He's
second
not talking about
season,
Tokyo. He's not
it
talking about
goes
Evil. He's talking
completely bonkers.
Yeah, I'll watch Evil too. at some
Evil's
point.
good. It's on Paramount Plus, though. It's on
Yeah.
Paramount Plus.
I have it. So.
Yeah, but I really recommend Star Trek Strange New Worlds in a big way because again,
Everyone's talking about it. I tried to watch the first episode.
how far did you get?
For 10 minutes till he's
And what happened?
riding
Did
the
you-
horse into the distance,
Yeah, why don't you
just like
fucking-
Captain Kirk, except, it's got to start with all this, like, not that he's in space already on a mission to Strange New World.
Yes,
just
because
about the mission.
why?
No,
There's a
I
reason.
don't need to know why. That's not what Star Trek was ever about, the original series, which is supposed to be what it's really supposed to be like. You just went, it was very episodic. They went out.
This is episodic.
It was a story of the week.
It's-
No,
this
but
is-
we have to understand why he needs to do
Shut
it.
up. Just watch the goddamn
Outta here.
show.
It's one
Watch
of these
the sh-
modern shows by modern writers that get in their writer's room and they're so smart, you know. Well, we need to build the characters and we need to generate, and it's got to be so thoughtful. And you know, we'll throw Spock in here and this person in here. Maybe Chekhov's ghost will come.
Chekhov's not
Maybe
dead.
Q will show up.
Q did show up in Picard.
Oh,
and
of
Picard
course.
sucked. In Picard.
Bravo.
Anything
Worf
else
show
before
up?
we go? Anything else before we
Wait a
go?
second. Can I ask, wait, so you don't like the fact that Q showed up in Picard, but you're fine with
I didn't talk about
guy.
Picard. Picard, he should show up. I'm talking about Strange New Worlds because they're just doing it to throw him in there.
No, he's not in there.
He's not in there.
You can't say that with everything that's been going on with all these Star Wars shows.
What's going on with Star Wars? We talked Star Wars to death.
Okay, I'll just say it slowly so you can follow my point. You cannot complain about them throwing in a character just to have the character when you watch the Star Wars shows and they throw in characters just to throw in characters. You follow?
From the look on his, he doesn't.
Yeah,
You're right. They should have not thrown Vader at all into.
Well, I'm telling you,
I
Vader
agree.
should have never been there.
I agree.
Vader
I
should have
agree.
never been
Or
in there.
Leia.
You know something? Luke shouldn't have been in Mandalorian.
No, that worked. There was a deliberate move there. They did a very, very good
No,
job.
he should. Okay, he was great in episode 2. I mean, episode 8 of season 2. But then when you quickly bring him back in Mandalorian season 2.5, the Book of Boba
We're
Fett,
going for 3
and
hours
you kind of
tonight, guys.
and you reset basically what happens at the end of the second season of Mandalorian. What are you doing there? It's total fan service.
No,
What do you?
it's bringing Grogu back to Mando.
And then we just need to bring Vecna in there.
Oh, we're bringing it all full circle. Vecna.
Fuck you, George.
Yeah.
Look, guys, I mean, at the end of the day, for me, it's all about writing, and it's the story. If it serves,
No,
the
it's
story,
not. It's
Yes.
not about writing. It's
Yes.
about it has to fit in with the insulated
That's
world.
right. Respect for the source material.
respect for the
Well,
source
if George
material.
didn't have respect for his source material, then
It's George's fucking property. He can do whatever the fuck he wants
anymore.
with it. Not anymore. He sold it for $4 billion, and
here's the
Disney's
thing.
shitting the bed with it. They're shitting the bed with it.
He shot the bed with what he did to the original trilogy, and he shot the bed with the prequels. And he would have shit the bed with his sequel trilogy.
Keith,
So you
have a
feel like-
final word on this?
Huh?
Let me hear Keith's thought on this.
I don't want to hear Keith's thoughts on it because I just don't care what he has to say at this point.
Why? Because he's going to give a very fresh view that we didn't think of.
He has no fresh view. He doesn't like anything.
That's
He
true. I
likes a
indicated.
lot of things.
No, he
He said
doesn't.
he liked the first episode of
fact that
Evil.
he likes-
Okay, I have nothing to say.
See,
So should we even be talking about Star Wars anymore then?
we should talk about Star Wars because we're passionate
Well,
about
we
it.
gotta talk about
We're
episode
just gonna-
4.
We're just going to have to divorce
Yeah,
ourselves
Keith
from
is
the-
right. We have 4 more episodes.
Divorce ourselves from what?
3
From
more
the stuff
episodes.
that the basis, sort of like the bedrock of what all this is based on?
the bedrock that's
talking
on
about that, the
tectonic
bedrock-
plates that shifted depending on whatever mood Lucas was feeling at that particular moment.
George, the
That's-
key beats of Star Wars were still intact. Anyway, I've said my piece, but yeah, I said my piece. All right, guys, say goodbye, everybody.
Good night,
Bye, everybody.
And hopefully we didn't lose everybody. You guys are great for sticking around.